Okay, hello and welcome to Alas for the Awful Sea. We are playing today as part of Gauntletcon, and we have not done character creation or anything like that, so we are about to dive into that now. But before we get to that, so Alas for the Awful Sea is a game of myth, mystery, and crime. It's set in the 19th century rural UK, and basically like the main themes that the game deals with, it's focused around politics as well as poverty, and the sort of everyday experience of people at that time. So in terms of the tone of the game, it usually sits somewhere between like average and like horribly tragic, like somewhere there in the spectrum. um, there's always stuff to laugh at and funny things happening, but it is a game on the more serious side. So when you create a character in this game, you've actually got two things to pick out. You have got your character type, which is basically your role on the ship's crew, because during the game you are part of a ship's crew that sort of sails around the British Isles. So your character type may be, captain, bosun, cook, basically what you do on the ship. And that comes with attributes and a custom move. And then the other thing that your character has, which sort of defines a bit more about who they are, is their descriptor. And that's more along the lines of, so the outcast, the lover, the believer. It's basically like the core attribute that defines your character, and that has custom moves and bonds attached to it as well. So I've usually found it easier to actually pick descriptors first because there's less of them, and they like define quite a core component of your character that can help you pick your character type as well. So you'll be able to see the descriptors in the link I sent you. You should be able to download them and have a look. Or just to run through them for you, they are the outcasts, so somebody who has sort of done something or is something for which society rejects them. The lover, so somebody who falls passionately and deeply in love. The believer, so somebody who's steadfast in their faith and that's what their world revolves around. The kinsman, somebody for whom family is really important, and their world revolves around family connections. And then there is the creature, who is somebody who is something other than human, and sort of who and what they are informs their character. And then the last one is the confidant, so somebody who deals in secrets basically and can use those to manipulate society to their advantage. So I think probably just shout out if you've got one that appeals to you.
I think I'll take the creature.
Cool. So Lou's going to go with the creature.
I think oh, go ahead.
Well, I was looking at the kinsman.
Awesome.
I think I like the confidant.
Awesome. Confidant.
Darn it.
Charles, lucky last.
Let's go with the outcast.
The outcast. Awesome. Okay. That sounds great. So now you've got your descriptor. You will be maybe starting to get some idea of what kind of person you might be. And so now you can grab your character type, and I won't go through them all because there's many options to choose from. But if you open up the character sheets PDF from the website, you'll be able to see the list. And again, just shout when you see the one that appeals to you.
I always kind of like the idea of a cook in a game. So unless someone else really wanted that one.
Awesome. Outcast cook.
Yeah. And what is this, like, for lack of a better term, playbook type thing, like part of a playbook? What is that option called?
As in, oh, what's that called? It's called a character type.
Type.
Or is that what you mean? Yeah.
Like to choose your description and your type. I got it.
Yeah, your character type. Yeah.
I'm keen on Stowaway if nobody else wants that.
Cool.
I kind of like Scholar.
Scholar. Awesome.
And I was looking at the old Sea Dog.
Oh, yeah. It's one of my favorite ones. Great. So it's funny, I found in this game that people, when they pick the descriptor first, they tend to pick character types that fit quite well with their descriptor, which I think is something quite cool. So I'll give you guys a second now to sort of just go through your character sheets and circle options. Don't fill in your bonds just yet, because we'll come back and sort of revisit those once we've heard a bit about everybody's character. If you have any questions about your sheet, shout.
Is balance like physical balance, or is it like mental balance?
Good question. It is mental balance, so basically balance is sort of your ability to act under pressure and keep your cool in difficult situations. And the other one, which is sort of a bit vague as well, is the beyond. The beyond is sort of your connection and how in tune you are with the spiritual and mystical forces that are at work in the world as well. And like different characters experience the beyond in different ways. Like, you know, maybe you wade out into the sea and sort of like open up your senses, or maybe you pray, or, you know, you may have a different way of experiencing the beyond as well.
Do you recommend to go, as you're kind of going down and picking through options, type stuff or description stuff generally works better going first? I guess description first, know what you're going to be doing.
Yeah, it depends on your character as to which one you want to do first. But if you're the outcast, you probably want to start with the descriptor.
Yeah.
And probably the same with you, Lou. Basically, you can just do it in whatever order like feels natural to you, to sort of start having a think about what kind of person you might be and what's important to you.
I assume it's fine to choose an alternate name just as long as it's fitting for the world.
Yep,
like
absolutely. 100%.
British Islesy kind of name, or I guess you can be
from
other places.
Absolutely, yeah. You can be from other places as well. That's absolutely fine too. So feel free to pick a name as long as it feels right to you. Is anybody ready to go? Yep. Tyler, did you want to tell us a little bit about the Confidant Scholar?
All righty. Let's see. I'm playing Robert Leakey, who is a male. He is getting older, but he's still fairly hale 30-something. But being out in nature has made him a little wrinkly. But he still manages to keep that kind of active, smiling face. He's very lively. He's kind of all elbows and knees, a little bit knobbly, as it were. And he tends to wear fairly formal stuff most of the time, though he will bow to the weather with his coat he wears.
Yeah.
And I went with a brains of 2. Well, he starts with a brains of 2. Bronze -1, beauty 0, balance 2, and beyond 0.
Okay, so Robert's sort of a very level-headed person, even in tough times. So I guess the two questions for Robert that I have straight away is, why did Robert become a scholar, and why on a ship?
Robert likes the idea of finding things that no one else knows.
Yeah.
He's made a reputation off of being able to be the only one who's studied it at any length. And he's a little snide and sarcastic to people if they try to speak on a subject that he thinks he knows better. And he's learned that if he's the only one that knows it, he has the chance to lord it over everyone.
Great. And so why did Robert go to sea?
He grew up in on the border of Wales, and spent his youth, around the Cardiff docks. And so after he got out of school and was starting his studies, it seemed like sea would be the perfect place to find these unusual stuff. Everything's been found here in Britain. Everything's been found in Europe. It's time to look for the new and the unusual.
Great. Oh, that's awesome. And so what sort of living did you pick for Robert out of destitute, average, and well-off?
Oh, I didn't see
your equipment section. We have one more choice to make as a scholar. You get to pick your level of wealth.
Oh. I think he's probably average. He's not unbelievably wealthy, but he's managed to make a living, and he's published.
Yeah. And he's sort of, I could see that he carries his knowledge around with him, both in terms of like the way he speaks, but also he looks the part as well. So I think being a scholar is like very much part of his identity. That's really cool. All right. Who would like to talk a bit about their character next? Anyone else ready to go? All right. Oh, okay.
I can jump in if no one else is ready.
Go for it.
Cool. Yeah, so I've got a girl called Isla who appears to be about 11 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And she's I don't know how the story's going to work out, but I'm playing as the stowaway, so she's maybe found on the ship early on. Yeah, she's a bit of a wild, young, eager-looking girl with big brown eyes, and she's got a hooded cloak. Would you like any more information now about her, or do you need to ask me anything about her?
It's kind of fun to leave it a mystery, isn't it? Yeah, let's leave it a mystery. I'm really interested to see how that will unfold during the game. I will ask you though, what is your item as the stowaway that you have with you?
The one that's from my home.
Yes.
I have a narwhal horn.
A narwhal horn. Cool. I think once we know a bit about everyone else and the composition of the crew, we'll sort of like come back to you a bit. Come back to Isla and sort of how Isla ended up on the ship.
Can I briefly ask the beyond like stat? Is that kind of, you know, like weird? Is that the magic strangeness kind of?
Yeah, I mean it is the magic, the mystical or the spiritual. Basically, it's stuff beyond what you can see and touch. So yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Cool. And all right. Going to pick on Pat. How are you going?
I'm coming along pretty good.
Yep.
My character's name is Bart McKendrick. He is the old sea dog and a kinsman. He has 0 brain, 0 brawn because he's older now. -1 beauty because he's older now and is salted by the sea. +2 balance and +2 beyond. He has suspicious eyes. Kinds of like to dart his view around at everybody. A weathered face, a solid body from years at the sea, and tattered whalers outfits.
Awesome. And do you want to tell us a bit about the McKendricks and Bart's family?
Yeah, sure. The McKendricks they're a pretty powerful family on the east coast of Ireland, and they made their wealth in the I would say in the lumber trade and building materials in Ireland. And the reason he went to sea is because Bart didn't really like that business.
Right.
And the sea is so much more exciting than dealing with building materials.
Okay. Yeah. Right. That makes sense. So what part of the McKendrick sort of personality, or what traits does Bart have as a result of being part of the McKendricks?
He's very savvy with his resources, and that's what the McKendricks are known for. They're very good at making money with what they got, and that's kind of how the family got built up. So they're not wasteful with their resources, I should say.
So I guess then my question is for Bart. So you've described him as having sort of like a tattered whaling cloak. Like he's not a well-dressed gentleman. He doesn't go around, seeming like a person of means. So why is that? What's behind that?
The McKendricks are very modest, even though his family is into money. They don't really flaunt it, and he's along those same lines. He has an average wage, but even with his average wage, he looks like he's kind of destitute.
Right. Yeah. That's just like the level he cares of his appearance, not ostentatious.
Right.
I see. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. And Charles.
Yeah, I'll request that we kind of go around and go over descriptor and type again so that I can jot that down and remember who's who. But we can do that before bonds.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
I am Patty Plum, a rather big, imposing cook, also the outcast. My sin is a heretical belief. I'll have to. I don't really know like what time period or something like.
Right. So we're in about 1820 to 1830, sort of in that period.
So it might even just make sense that like maybe he's just like an atheist. He doesn't buy this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. that'd be very controversial in most of the British Isles. So absolutely.
Okay, we'll go with that. And the mark of that is a brand on his right arm. I think it might just make sense to be some sort of like church imposed torture mark of an A in a circle.
So maybe you're from quite a rural area that still has like really old practices. I think. Does that sit right with you? Yeah.
It's great. Yeah. You know, and also explains why some of his chef talent learned from his grandma. Why not? And you know, had to put up with her faithful. She may have been a believer of sorts. His look is with focused eyes, a hearty face, rounded body, and a stained, greasy apron. For the stats, I put my other plus. I start with a +2 in brawn. The other +2 was in balance, and beauty gets the -1. So he is not too easy on the eyes, I guess.
Absolutely, that makes sense. So I think I'll just recap everybody. What I've understood from what is your character type, your name, and your descriptor. So Tyler, you're playing the confident scholar whose name is Robert Leakey. Yep. And I'll get you to confirm your pronouns as well.
It is he.
He, cool. Pat, you're the kinsman old sea dog, Bart McKendrick.
That's right. That's a he as well.
He, yep. Lou, you're playing the creature stowaway Isla.
Yep.
And is that
yeah, she's the young girl.
Spelling
Isla?
is it ISLA? Is that how we spell Isla?
Yep.
Yep. And Charles, you've got the outcast cook. Is it Paddy Plum or Patty Plum?
Paddy with D's.
Paddy with a D. Cool.
Yeah.
And what
it is
are Paddy's pronouns?
Yeah, and it's a he.
Awesome.
And, the outcast cook. Yes.
The outcast cook. Great. Okay, so I think the first question that I want to ask before we do bonds is, out of all of you, so who would be, if you were all together on the ship, who would be in charge? Or who would be the most senior person? Or the one most likely to give orders?
Probably of our crew would be me.
Right. That makes sense.
Like, what about,
would you think the scholar would give the orders over the salty dog? Do you think?
Well, I don't know. That's a real thing. You might be right. It might be that you're more like the captain, the guy who runs the ship, but I sort of see myself as, we should go there, we should go there, we should go there.
Mm.
Yeah, maybe Bart's in charge when there's actual like sailing or storms, you know, rough weather and
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just bossing everyone around when not sailing to be done.
Yeah, like Robert thinks he's in charge, and we just all kind of play along and know who gets the real work done.
I like that. I like that a lot. So, in that case, I'm gonna give it to Bart. Bart, what's the name of your ship?
We'll say the name of the ship is Lillian.
Lillian. And why is it called Lillian?
All ships deserve to have a woman's name because the sea requires a touch that only a woman can give.
Cool. And then I'll throw this one to Tyler. So what's the name of the captain of the Lillian?
Let's see. So who's the captain?
Mm-hmm.
let's Sid, Captain Walter Sid.
Walter Sid. Cool. So Captain Sid. And you want to tell us one thing about Walter Sid?
He's probably also well past his prime. Like our, he's even older than our old sea dog. So probably where I think I'm running the ship, the captain probably thinks he's running the ship, and we're all really being run by Bart.
By Bart. That's awesome. I love that. I'll just get everyone else to say a quick fact about the captain. Can be anything. So Charles, one thing about Captain Sid. I think you're on mute there. Sorry.
I was mostly just talking and thinking to myself, and I could expect this to get X-carded if someone just thinks that it's too tropey, but I like the idea of the captain having sort of a sassy parrot, a parrot that's picked up some swear words and kind of maybe sometimes betrays him a bit, or
his
calls him out.
Thoughts. Yeah, nice.
He has a rude pet. Why not parrot, right?
I like that. Lou, one thing about Captain Sid.
Damn, I was gonna say that he had a monkey.
Yeah, sadly he cannot have a parrot and a monkey. That is too much for this game.
Monkeys are kind of scary. They're strong as snot, man.
They're terrifying.
And also they don't talk.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll sassy parrot.
I like the sassy
Sally.
I was thinking perhaps that he doesn't leave his cabin very often.
Yeah, okay. I like the idea that he's like quite introverted, and that but then as a counterweight to how introverted he is, that it's a sassy parrot to say what he's really thinking. His cabin very often. And Pat.
I'll say that he's constantly on the run from debtors.
Nice.
He's in debt, and so like if we ever pull into port, that's one of the reasons he never comes out of his cabin. Because he's afraid who might be standing on the dock.
Good. Oh, I love that. That's fantastic. Cool. So what I will get everyone to do now is on your character sheet, and some of you have it on your descriptor as well, there should be a section for bonds. So if you could just find one bond to fill in with the name of each other player character. Or if you don't think any of those bonds apply, feel free to create your own bond as well. And also, Tyler, as the confidant, you can start with a secret about somebody on one of the crew members as well, just because we're playing only a one-session game, so need to give you a bit of steam.
All right. Is it one of the players, or is it just someone on the crew?
So it is either going to be one of the players or the captain, but I think it's more fun if it's one of the players.
Okay. Can I think a few minutes about that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can think about it and feel free to like ask other people what kind of secret they might have. It's not all on you. So I'll give you guys a few moments to go through that.
Silly question, but stowaway kind of throws me off a bit. Are we aware of Ela?
That's a good question. I think we need to make a call on that. I think I'll leave it up to Lou.
Sorry, you go, Haley.
Yeah, I was just going to say your two options are you can have been at the beginning of the game or at the beginning of the session when we get playing. You can either have already been found recently, or you can still be hidden.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea that I'm like a pre-existing fixture the ship. Like I've been since they left the last port or whatever. I've been like they found me early on.
Yep. I kind of had an idea on that because on the kinsman descriptor, I have to pick somebody as my kinsman. I was thinking perhaps the easiest way to get a stowaway on the ship is to have somebody that's in charge let a stowaway on the ship. And I was wondering
that works perfectly. I was going to say if one of my bonds is someone promised to help you escape from your old life, they're the one that that knew you snuck aboard. So let's do that if you're happy for me to choose that for you.
Oh yeah, that works. That works out great.
Awesome.
Charles, I would think that looking over kind of who we got in here, the dynamic, it might make most sense if I have a secret on you rather than the little girl or our kind of captain. Is there something in particular, something you think would be an interesting secret? I was thinking maybe you were part of, I don't know, you could have been part of one of the Irish revolts. I don't know, with a name like Patty. I didn't know if you might be Irish. Or it could have something to do with your being an atheist. I don't know.
Yeah, basically, I think some of that could... I don't recall the history all that well, but we can take.
There's always an Irish revolt.
Yeah, and so yeah, I'll run with that, and whatever it was probably a little bit, rural uprising, perhaps. So a little bit of.
That fits this time period like down to a T. There was between about 1820 and 1840, there was a large number of rural uprisings. So I think that makes perfect sense.
Okay, so I'll put down Patty was involved with with an Irish uprising and managed to escape without being identified. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
And I think my bond with you, just sort of being the someone I think, like, if I were going to be antagonistic for somebody, and I like those kind of complicated bonds a little bit, is that he probably doesn't really much care for the scholar's attitude, and doesn't really like that he's got this secret on him, and so he's got his own secret of his own, and it's a little secret ingredient that goes into Robert's food, it's usually just kind of a little kind of extra seasoning. If you ever saw the movie Waiting, feel free to fill in imagine whatever grossness you want.
Gotcha. There's a neat thing about ships in the wooden sailing era, that the only person allowed to whistle on a ship was the cook, and that was so they'd know he wasn't spitting his tobacco juice into the soup.
Wow, it's concerning that they need something like that, isn't it? That's great. All right.
I think I'm going to also go with, to sort of solidify, or at least put into a bond, that relationship that we saw Bart as the competent one. My bond with him will be, no matter who is formally in charge, Bert is the only one I really listen to. And for Hila, I'll pick that she, for some reason, kind of can calm me down when the temper gets the best of me. If that's all right with y'all.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, that segues right into the bond I had with set up with Patty. I taught Patty everything they know about the sea. And
cool.
For Robert, I got Robert is too impulsive and they're dangerous to have around.
Why does Bart think that?
Probably because as it was stated, he's a scholar and always wants to go to these different places and is always wanting to find ideas on different things, and probably shouldn't be sticking his nose where in every crevice just to find some information.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And I actually have two for Isla. Well, I got the one where Isla is my fellow kinsman, and the other one is I know Isla hears the sounds at night.
Yes.
That's great. I really like where this is going. Awesome. So, Lou, are you ready with Isla's bonds?
I've just got the one which is to with Bart. Bart promised to help me escape my old life and helped me to sneak aboard, or knows that I snuck aboard.
Did you think any of the other ones might apply to other people, or did you want to sort of leave it like something we can work out during the game?
Unless somebody... there's multiple ones that would apply, like you're worried somebody plans to send you back to where you came from, or somebody is convinced you're up to no good and is trying their best to prove it. But I'm kind of happy just to let it
unfold.
Cool. React to her presence there.
Okay, and lastly, Robert's bonds that we haven't heard yet.
All right, I have convinced Isla that I can talk to birds. And
how did that happen?
I probably think that it's just amusing to tell this little girl, oh, I can hear the seagulls out there. They're telling us that it's going to be another hot day. And get that sort of, you can talk to birds. Oh, of course, all great scholars are able to talk to birds. How do you think we learn so many things?
Nice.
And I've got Bart does not believe in my discipline, and I think he's a fool. And finally, I'm secretly studying Patty.
Oh, why are you secretly studying Patty?
I think because I know that he was involved in this revolt when he was in Ireland, and I'm a little afraid that he may be still a rebel here on the ship. And I wouldn't want some sort of rapscallion to take over our ship. And I do know who the first person in the boat away from the ship would be.
Cool. All right. So that is great. I think we've got some great relationships there. The last question is do we want to delve into how Isla came to be on board the ship?
I've got a tiny little bit of stuff I thought about just based on those connections and stuff. But,
yeah. Shoot.
Okay, so I'm just thinking that her family and so the relations that she has with Bart are from like one of the little Hebrides, this tiny, the archipelago running up the side of Scotland to all the little islands. I think the Isle of Skye is one of the bigger ones, but I think they're from one of those little islands. And I know there was a big, I know it's called the Island Dispossession, but heaps of those
with the evictions,
people got forced off their islands. A lot of them came to Australia and New Zealand and stuff. I've got ancestors, like that's how some of my family in Australia. I think they were probably getting forced off the island, and I think she was going to run away anyway. She didn't want to leave the islands and the ocean and stuff, and I guess maybe that's Bart knew that story and they had a connection. I'm imagining Bart some sort of favorite uncle or something, like that, whose ship stops in every now and again. But yeah, that's all I've got.
That's great. Does that sit well with you, Bart?
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. And perhaps even Bart asked the captain about it, but the captain's so preoccupied with his parrot in his cabin that he was just like kind of brushed it off.
Yeah.
Probably thinking I was bringing another deckhand on, even though, you know, I would never force Isla to work.
Cool.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. So the last thing that I want to do before we get rolling. So the scenario we're sort of going to start playing today is the one that's in the back of the book. And it's definitely not a scenario you can kind of do all of in one session. So it kind of depends how we go in terms of pace as to how much we kind of get through or what happens. So like I've run this scenario with groups where we've kind of gone all the way, you know, to a lot of things happened and kind of ended up with a really dramatic conclusion. And I've also run the scenario where groups where the pace is a bit slower and it's more about character relationships and kind of ends in a bit of a cliffhanger. So it sort of depends on how we go. So just a warning up front, we may or may not reach a dramatic conclusion. I think naturally the pace of this game is tends to be better when it's a bit slower, like most Powered by the Apocalypse games. I'm sure you guys have noticed that, like, you know, the relationships form over multiple sessions and kind of but you can have a pretty interesting game in 3 hours as well, I hope. So what I wanted to do is give you guys some relationships to characters in the scenario, just to sort of like kickstart it a little bit. And I'm just going to assign those based on my understanding of your characters. So I'll just pop them in to the chat because I'm not sure the best way otherwise to get them to you. And I'll just put your name above the one that applies to your character. So let's start here. Definitely. Sorry. This one is for Isla. You can read those in the chat. Did that? Yep. For this one is for Robert. Which way around? I think I'll get you guys to pick between Bart and Patty. One of these is like a more criminal connection, and the other one is a family connection. So, like my initial thought was sort of with Patty's past, the criminal connection might make more sense, but I wanted to run that by you guys first.
Yeah, I see it as a choice between sort of like doubling up the family stuff on Hila, or doubling up the criminal stuff on me, or kind of going half, giving us sort of each a bit of crossovers. So
I should say as well, it's like not more specifically, it's a smuggling connection. It's not really like hardcore crime, and like you know, in this time period, Nari was the man who was not a smuggler. So I think either way around kind of works.
Yeah, I'm okay taking that.
Okay.
And letting Patty have the family one.
Family connection, awesome. All right. So
that kind of like I hadn't had family kind of come up yet, and I was just looking over the description of the game because I was still not a little bit. I had to remind myself like what this game is about and stuff. So family important. So I'll take that.
Yes. Yeah, that's good. Actually, I like it that way around. So I popped your one in Bart, and I'm popping Patty's one in now. Cool. Hopefully you can all find those in the chat and read them. And we won't go through these now. I think what we'll do is when it first becomes relevant in the game, then we'll sort of like stop and get you to explain a bit about your connection at that time.
I'm happy with mine because it was something that I was planning on doing anyway. That's cool.
Well, that works out well, doesn't it?
So should I pick this one is pick one. I didn't see that with the others. I imagine it might be okay if I pick that later if it comes up, or I can pick it now, whatever.
No, you can pick it later. Like, you can pick it when it becomes relevant in the scenario.
Cool.
It's up to you. Yeah, whatever is easier for you. Yeah, I think 3 of them have a choice, and then Isla's one is just what it is. Cool. All right. Okay, so in terms of like rules and how to play the game kind of stuff, like it's very standard Powered by the Apocalypse. So you've got the basic moves, which you can download from the website link I sent you earlier that you'll need for the game. And then, so as usual, these are very similar to Apocalypse World. I'll call for a move if I sense that you're doing a thing, you know, that means that a move needs to take place. But you can read a person, read another's thoughts and sense what's beyond as well, which is sort of getting in touch with the mystical or spiritual or whatever that is for you, and sort of trying to glean facts about the world that way. And then, of course, you've got your moves on your character sheets and your descriptors. And like, I might call for those, but with those ones, feel free to like to say, hey, I want to do this, and then we'll say, okay, how do you do that? And you can describe it, and then we can do the move. So feel free to initiate those ones on your sheets. In this game, harm is pretty realistic, I should say as well. So if you get shot in the head, that's gonna give you probably all 4 segments of harm and be the end of your character. But on the flip side, you're much, much less likely to get shot in the head in this game than you are in most other games, because for somebody to shoot you in the head, they would have to A, have a gun, B, have a motivation, and C, like, not mind the fact that they're probably going to get hung. So that's one thing to consider as well. Other than that, does anybody have any questions about the rules or how the game works before we kick off? No? OG? Cool.
I'm assuming it's just the standard, like, Powered by the Apocalypse thing, where we don't really even need to look at the moves that much. We just say what we're trying to do, and then
absolutely
that will trigger things. And you'll say, oh, you're doing this.
Yeah, no, that's definitely how it works. The only reason why I sort of called out the moves in your sheet is like, you can think of them as things that you are trying to do that you wouldn't otherwise be able to try and do. So, for example, for Isla, Isla as a character is going to have abilities and things that she can call on that other characters can't. So when you want to call on those things, do it, and then we'll do the applicable move. Awesome.
I noticed that one of the moves there, I noticed that the aid move, help or hinder, uses plus bond. So knowing how many bonds we get to pick, if we can fill in all 4 of them?
So when you start the game, you usually just have 1 bond to each other player, plus any bonds you might have extra from your descriptor. So like one of the advancement options that you get as you go on, if you play multiple sessions, is to add bonds with people as well.
I think the role is plus how many bonds you have with that particular character too.
Correct.
So,
yeah,
you get to roll plus like the amount of all of them.
So I think in this case, the only person who would be rolling with higher than a +1 would be if Bart were to help or hinder Isla, because Bart has that extra connection with Isla. Cool. All right. So this game begins with a storm, And you've been at sea long enough to know this is no ordinary storm. This is sort of the storm that comes once in a sailor's life that, you sort of talk about afterwards in every in-house for the rest of your lives. So it's one of those storms that's either an amazing story or, the end. The rain is pelting down. The ship is rocking back and forth wildly. Things are getting tossed across the deck. And lightning is cracking through the sky. And despite all this, Captain Sid hasn't made an appearance on the deck. But what are you doing during the storm?
I'm standing on the deck and barking orders, making sure everybody's getting the rigging tied up, so nobody gets injured. With any sails or anything like that. We're pulling the sails down. Just trying to keep the ship as safe as possible in the storm. We're not really trying to maneuver the ship. We're just trying to, keep it upright.
Yeah, basically hunker down and try and get through the storm. How about Robert? What's Robert doing?
I'm betting he's probably in his cabin and leaning out a porthole being sick. And he'll probably blame it on the food on this ship. Just always seems to disagree with him anyway. But with this storm going on, he can hardly even keep it down.
So as great. So you're in your cabin, and as the ship is being tossed back and forth, and like your cabin is right next to the captain's cabin, and you can just hear through the walls of the cabin. It's like a parrot yelling profanities.
Okay.
How about Patty? What's Patty doing as the ship is sort of rocking back and forth?
I think battening down the hatches is as simple as I can put it. There's probably lots of cabinets that have sharp things or pans and foodstuffs that all needs to get like extra secured down, and maybe clean up a few things that may have been left loose, because there just always seems to be something, right?
So you're in the hold, like trying to secure things down and getting things out of the way as fast as you can. And as the ship is rocking, and you suddenly hear a crack sound, and you look over and you can see that water is starting to trickle into the hold. What do you do?
I start freaking out, yelling, hull breach, hull breach. And I'm probably just going to start booking it, kind of looking for something floatable to get on. I'm probably not being very heroic right now or giving anymore.
Yeah, so, but you can hear hull breach from beneath the deck.
I yell down, "Damn it, Patty! Get something in that hole! Stop the leak!" Patty, answer me.
Yeah, does it look like something that I might stand a chance against? I'll kind of rear back in my tracks and check it out again. Give it a second look to decide is this something I can do?
Look. You could do nothing and it would get a lot worse, or you could do something and it will get a little bit worse.
Oh, well, let's make it get only a little bit worse. I think I'm going to try to I'm going to grab like a sack of flour to see if it starts making some paste. I don't know I don't know squat about patching up a boat that's currently leaking.
Maybe tar or bitumen or something.
Well, I don't know how much Patty knows about it either. I mean, Patty is like the cook on the ship. Does Patty have that knowledge?
Probably not. No. He'd probably just use like a bunch of flour, and hope that kind of like sops up the mess. Maybe there's some like roughage that I can use as well, like some barnacle shells or something like that I can like try to make up into some like makeshift mortar or something here. This is bound to go
good.
Using roll for your party, or just like rolling physical dice and.
Yeah, just roll physical dice if you got them. I think pretty much you're acting under pressure here to try and patch up this bit of the ship.
That is a plus balance, which I have at a +2. 5 and a 4, 9, 10, 11.
Nice. Well, surprisingly, the flower starts to like absorb some of the water coming in, and like it somehow forms a paste that kind of like blocks up a few of the boards that are beginning to crack apart. But you can sort of see that it's not going to hold for that long. But you bought yourself time. You know, you don't need to desperately run for anything that floats and kind of like cling to it.
All right, yeah, I'd go like send a shipsmith. Where's the carpenter?
The carpenter like rushes down, jumps down and like starts like looking at the crack that's starting to form, and then he just runs and grabs a pump and is like, all right, this is how this is going to go down. What's Isla doing?
I think Isla was in the hold watching all of this unfold. She's probably like, this is probably where she first hid away, so she's got a little like hidey hole between some crates, maybe under a sailcloth. But like, as this is all happening, I think she's kind of watching, and it's funny because the cook's like freaking out and trying to jam like sass flour in, and I think she's kind of standing behind him. And like she's just got this big grin on her face, and I don't think he even notices her there. And I think she, as this is happening, the carpenter starts pumping. I think she goes up onto the deck, like in the storm, and I think she's going to, she climbs kind of a little bit up one of the masts, and she's just all the winds blowing in her hair, and she's like just loving the storm. She's all super happy and
amazing, right? And
girl.
And the crew are looking at you like, is this kid like, what is this girl doing? Everyone's just trying to like just stop from like slipping on some water and slamming into the side of the ship, and she's like climbing the rigging. Nice. So but you know that Greymore, the town of Greymore, is actually quite nearby. And there is a bay there which you can sort of pull into, which is a bit more calm. And so you head, do you usually steer the ship, or are you, does Captain Sid usually do that?
No, Captain Sid usually doesn't do anything.
Okay.
I don't steer the ship unless absolutely necessary. So I believe this is one of those points where it's absolutely necessary. I don't trust the deckhand. And perhaps I even yell out, left full rudder, make haste, make haste. And these deckhands aren't moving fast enough. And even though I'm an old man, I still get up there and I turn that big ship's wheel to get it aimed in towards the bay. Where we can perhaps shelter from the weather a little bit.
Yeah, nice. So you run across the deck and grab the wheel and start turning it. And slowly throughout the battering, the ship makes its way into the quiet bay. While below deck there's chaos going on, there's flour everywhere, and the water is starting to sort of like breach into the hull, and people are starting to start pumping. And you pull into the bay in Greymore, where it's a lot calmer. But the ship is not in good condition. It's going to need some serious repairs before it can get back out to sea. But thanks to Patty's sort of quick reaction and handiwork, at least it's not about to go down. So as you're sort of looking out in the pouring rain. You can see on the cliffs on the other side of the bay where Greymore is. You can see the town in the distance, sort of very, very vaguely through the mist and the fog of the storm. But much closer, you can see two sort of hooded figures running like along the top of the cliffs towards your ship. And you can take a jolly boat in towards the shore as well if you want to get into shore.
Yeah, I mean we're gonna have to get into shore, so that we can find some shipwrights to fix his boat.
Cool. Yeah, and sort of I think once the storm quietens down, Captain Sid strolls out of his cabin, looking a bit like, you get a sense that he's getting a bit old for these kind of storms, and he's still swaying a bit. And I don't know whether you've come out of your cabin, Robert.
Yeah, I would have come out once it got a little bit calmer.
Yeah, and I think like you guys have a very similar look on your faces.
I think I kind of roll my eyes when I see the captain come out, and roll my eyes even more when I see Robert come out next to him.
And Captain Sid is like, all right, we've made it into a bay. Good job. Let's get the ship patched up. And then he sort of his parrot is just like, do you guys mind if I swear, or is it like fucking patched up? And he's like, God damn. And makes his way back into the cabin. And you can see the two men on the cliff sort of like waving at you as well. So who's going to jump in the boat?
I think Robert's definitely wanting to get off this ship. Mon Capitan, I think I absolutely must take this opportunity to investigate the local area, if you don't mind, sir. Permission to disembark, Captain?
Yes, certainly.
I asked the captain if he's planning to go ashore.
No, I must stay with the ship. It's very important that I stay with the ship.
Okay, so I'm definitely going in. I mean, if business needs to be conducted, it's going to have to be me.
Great. So
Isla runs up and like grabs Bart's hand as he's heading towards the boat, and she's wanting to go with him as well.
I kind of tell I tell Isla, I'm like, Isla, it'd probably be best if you just stayed on the ship. You don't know these towns.
She just smiles at you and keeps trying to come with you anyway. She doesn't really say anything. She just smiles like really charmingly at you, and keeps, unless you tell her like really strongly not to go, she's going to keep trying to come with you.
And I think now might be a nice time for me to sort of like put my thumb on the scale a bit and be like, I'm going. I don't like funny looking folks in hoods. Too many bad experiences, and just in case I fly off the handle, I want you around in case I need to calm down. So she's, as far as I'm concerned, let's go.
Yes, Mr. Perkins, very inquisitive young mind. She should see new things.
Okay.
All right, Patty, I'm putting her in your charge. Okay, if I need to conduct business, I need you to keep an eye on her. Make sure she doesn't get in any trouble.
You were speaking to
Patty.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm totally up for that responsibility. I sort of do the with Kid. I'm like, got your back. Make a little like fist bump.
Good.
That's when the fist bump was first invented.
Nice.
So you guys make your way into the boat and row your way onto shore, and as the storm is sort of still bucketing down, and you pull up along a bit of coastline, and the two figures run down towards you. It's two men, sort of a shorter, older man with dark hair, and then a young, lanky, red-headed boy in his early 20s. And Patty, you recognize the younger boy straight away. This is your cousin Ronnie, who you haven't seen in quite a few years. So do you want to tell us about your family connection and which option you want to pick?
All right. Let's see. Yeah. I'm gonna pick the second option. So the thing about my NPC, well, it's the last one there, pretty easy to see, is Aunt Ruby, who lives with my cousin Ronnie. It's been a long time since I've seen her, actually, either of them, as we mentioned with Ronnie there. And I think I'm going to go with the second option because I'm already looking after. I already have one ward, so I'm not particularly. I'm not going to at least ask for looking after another. So that leaves us with sides of our sides of the family don't get along.
Okay.
I respect feud. Yeah. Oh. How have I always remembered her? And I think it kind of makes sense with his story to say that she strikes me as like both aspects of something that I really don't like. So she's sort of a city mentality, like urban as opposed to rural, may have been on the other side of that revolt. And is also like an ardent believer who like every sentence has God, has some reference to.
Yeah.
Like that just drives me up the wall.
Okay, great. So I think Ronnie has probably inherited a lot of that viewpoint as well, and he's probably heard about you, the cousin who basically did everything that you're not supposed to do. And so I think he gives you a look of recognition, and even as the rain is pouring down, he just sort of looks at you and is like, "What are you doing here?"
We got a little bit blown off track. Long time no see, kiddo.
Yeah, didn't expect to see you here.
Yeah. How's Aunt Ruby doing?
Well enough, not that you'd care. And the other man is like, do you know these people? Like, it's a storm. Like, we should probably get moving. And Ronnie says, yeah, I know this one. This is my cousin, no good cousin I was telling you about. And Will is like, do you all, Will is the shorter man. He's like, do you all need a shipwright? Because we've got one in town.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. In fact, as quickly as possible so we could get back underway on our journey, please.
All right, follow me. And so they start like guiding you along the cliffs and into the town. And while you're walking, sort of Ronnie is like saying, I'm obliged to tell everyone that enters this town as a member of the Coast Guard, and most especially people that we suspect with some criminal history or criminal past about the laws here. No alcohol or illicit goods may be taken on shore. Any alcohol or tea or luxury goods attract a tax of 50% of their worth. And Will is like, shut up, Ronnie. It's like pouring with rain. Ronnie's like these people need to know I don't trust them.
Don't worry, kid. I've been here before. This is what I tell them. Still your rules. I've been here.
Oh man, he gives you a bit of a glare. And then he just like crosses his arms and is like just like hunkers down and walks without saying anything.
I think as he's walking up ahead, Isla peeks out from behind Patty, and she's like, pokes her tongue out at him and kind of.
I do hope there's a good warm pub in this town, though. If I can't bring alcohol with me, I certainly hope to find it here.
No doubt. Well, there's one in this town. And Ronnie says, "Yeah, you know, that's what my mother does. She runs the inn." And they lead you into Greymore, and you can see that, I mean, at the moment, like, all the shutters and windows of Greymore are sort of battered down against the storm, but the place is not in good condition. It's not so much like decaying, but it looks like it's more like in a perpetual state of decay. Like, most of the buildings in the town are really old and run down and really look like they're in need of repair. And they lead you along the docks to sort of a small sort of dwelling, and bang on the door, and they're like, "Hey, Bart, get out here, they need you." And a small withered man opens the door, and I think he looks like right into your face, Bart, as the door opens, and like, you have this moment of, oh, we're basically the same person. You have very similar looks about you, sort of like weathered, storm-beaten, grey hair in your appearance. And he gives you a big grin and he says, "Oh, did you come in through that storm?"
Yes, unfortunately, and our ship suffered some damage. But I think for the moment we're safely anchored in the harbor, hoping to get some respite tonight and find a shipwright as soon as possible.
Well, that'll be me. I'm the only shipwright in this town.
Excellent. As soon as the storm passes, may we inquire about your services?
Absolutely. And he looks up at the sky and, like, with a discerning look, and is like, "This should be down by tomorrow morning. What do you say I come then and I can look at your ship first thing?"
Yeah, that'll be fine. First thing in the morning, as soon as the storm passes.
No worry. And he says, "All right then," and just closes the door.
Thank you, sir.
Ronnie and Will start leading you through town towards the inn. And as you're walking, a rock flies through the air and sort of like hits Ronnie on the side, and you can hear from behind you yelling, "You dogs! This is all your fault!" And you sort of whirl around, and you can see, like, hidden, like, in an alleyway between two houses, there's like 4 people, and they've got their hands full of rocks, and they started pelting them at Will and Ronnie. And sort of one hits Ronnie in the side of the head, and this blood starts sort of trickling down his forehead, and he just sort of like stumbles back and falls over. What do you do?
I get out of the line of fire. Good Lord, what sort of people are these?
Great.
I try to protect Isla. I try to, try to get in her way.
I'm hiding behind grown-ups.
So I'll notice that Isla's taken care of, so that leaves me free to charge ahead, and I'm going to yell, "Nobody fucks with Ronnie but me," and charge up at these guys. And I don't know what they're up to, but I'm barreling their way with a butcher's cleaver.
All the time, I'm like, "Patty, calm down."
So are you attempting violence, or are you trying to intimidate them?
I'd say this. I'm going to do intimidation first. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like it sort of fits the bill.
Yeah, I don't know for sure that I want to like
start cutting up these people. Yeah.
Oh well, yeah, we're not gonna. Hearts must be broken first, right? Weird reference. Plus brawn, that is also another 2 I've got. So let's go intimidate another. Oh, 6 and a 1. Saw the 1 first, so I was a little scared, but that gives me a 9. So 9. One of the following that is within their ability.
Yes.
Give me something they think. And this is the GM's choice, right?
Yes. So I think yeah, I think they're like, when they see you, they sort of like back up, like holding the rocks, like uncertain about whether they should throw the rocks at you. And I think they give you something they think you want in that they pause in their tracks and they're like, oi, who are you? Like, why are you defending the Coast Guard? You should be helping us.
Yeah, that might be so. Who the hell are you?
Well, we live here. You look like a stranger. Stay out of town business.
Yeah, well, sorry news for you, but we're here, so this is our town now.
Well, who are you then?
We are the crew of the Liliane, and not to be trifled with. So what's this you got against the Coast Guard? They seem to be friendly enough, even if they are sometimes kind of grumbles and trails off some choice words about Ronnie.
I think they don't really want to talk to you right now. They just wanted to know who you were, and so they're like, crew of the Liliane, like, all right, we'll see you later then, and sort of like drop the stones and like disappear into an alleyway. How do you react to that, Patty?
I turn back to my friends and sort of glance at the other alley too, to see if they've made the same choice.
You can't see any of the rock throwers around you anymore.
Okay. And I'm going to look a bit gravely at my my fellow crew members and be like, we may need to get word back to the captain. I may have spoken a little too much. Sorry.
Isla runs over to you and she like hugs your leg and she's like, yeah, that was so brave. You're so brave.
Yeah, thanks. Pat her on the head and so who's gonna warn the captain?
Well, first I kind of help Ronnie and the other guy get up because I'm sure they've probably been injured by rocks.
Ronnie's having trouble standing up, and Will is sort of like ducking under him, trying to support him. And Will is like, this kind of thing is happening more and more. And Ronnie's like, I'll kill them, and like trying to stand up, and Will's like, no.
No, you're not killing anybody. Can't even walk. Now, what the hell is going on in this town?
Well, you know, we at Coast Guard just trying to do our job to stop the smuggling and what. And Will looks kind of sad for a moment, and he's like, a lot of this town, depending on money from that, you know, even though it's illegal and all. We in the province caught a big shipment just a couple of weeks ago. It's in the, confiscated at every barrel, and since then it's been non-stop of this. He shakes his head.
Barrels of what?
Yeah.
Well, gin, whiskey.
Gin,
sounds like good stuff.
Well, it's against the law. That's what it is.
Yeah, we may have to take it off your hands then, right?
And Ronnie's like, don't you dare.
I just saved your life, Pipsqueak?
I would have been fine.
Yeah, you're still not fine.
And Will's like, can a couple of you help me take him to his ma in the inn?
Yeah, I think we were all heading there anyways, weren't we?
Yeah.
Oh, for Pete's sake. Yeah, being the brawny one, like, I'll lug you a kid and just heave him up like a big sack of flour. Like,
oh, nice. And he's like, don't touch me, but he's like way too weak to actually
yeah, I sort of I think like the just the heave, like, sack of potatoes heaved over him. Like,
nice.
Especially like with his head around his back so that I don't have to see his ugly mug.
Cool. So you guys walk down to the inn, and you can see it. It's basically the only place in the town that isn't shuttered and closed down in the storm. And, you know, blood and like rain is sort of like mingling down Ronnie's head and like stained his shirt pink. And you guys are soaked, and you finally push open the door of the inn, which is called the Gentle Tempest. And you open the inn door. It's fairly quiet, and you can see straight away your Aunt Ruby.
Yeah, have I been here before? Do I know my sort of way around this building a little bit?
That's up to you. Have you been here before?
Yeah, I want to say so, and do my best to just immediately take him straight to the bathroom. Like, yeah, long time, and sort of like, long time no chat. Ronnie needs to wash up. Let me take care of this, and just kind of like brush past her and go straight for the washroom.
Right.
And trying not to let her see his face, because then I'm gonna be like in deep.
Yeah, and she just sort of yells after you, like, Patty, oh my good Lord, as you're sort of like disappearing into the bathroom. And then she turns around to look at you three and says, did you all come in through the storm with a child, no less?
Aye, we did. But don't worry about the child. She's just a deckhand. She'll be fine. She's quiet. So I see you know Patty, the cook?
Yes. You're none of his friends, are you? Not a good sort.
Friend might be a rather strong term, I would say.
Ooh. Who are you? Sound like a right gentleman.
Robert Leakey. I am traveling with these fine people, exploring this wondrous world. You have a lovely establishment. Is that a bit of gin I smell in the air?
No gin here. We do have beer and a bit of whiskey. I'm sure that you all need a drink. My heavens. And she sort of ruffles your hair, Isla, if you let her, and tries to dry you off a bit. And you can see on the other side of the inn there is a man sort of hunched over in a police issue raincoat as well, drinking a beer. And she says, well, for you folks, you know, we'll have one room here at the inn where you could stay. The other one is taken up by the police constable over there. Though I hear he'll be gone in the morning. What happened to my boy?
I need a...
Sorry. Okay.
I think Isla pipes up. She's like, well, there were these men with rocks, and they were throwing rocks, and then Paddy he ran over at them with his knife.
I try to cut her off.
Yeah, she stops.
These kids in these stories. But yes, there were people throwing rocks at others in the street. I don't know what the hell's going on around here, but it's not very hospitable.
Yes, the Coast Guard seems quite unpleasant.
Good Lord, this seems to be happening more and more. And she turns to the police constable and is like, that's the kind of thing you should be stopping, not chasing up some suicidal woman, eh? And he's just like, it's not my job. I'm sure the provost can sort it out, and goes back to his beer.
Look, madam, I appreciate the whiskey and the pints, but we just need the room for the night, and we'll be out of here in the morning.
Oh, no worries. Of course, I'll here are the keys, and she hands the keys to you, Robert, with a smile. And she says, I'd make you up some fish stew, but even the fish around here have gone no good. What a time we're having in town.
Even the fishing has gone bad, ma'am. What sort of thing would cause fishermen not to be able to fish?
Well, they say the fish from that certain area, the best fishing, have been poisoned. Heavens knows how. But everyone who eating them has been getting sick or sad. I don't know. Sad and sick. I'd say they're just sad because they're sick and they should quit their whining, is what I say.
Well, perhaps once this storm has decreased somewhat, I could take a look at these fish. I assure you, my field of knowledge is extensive.
Well, no doubt, I'm sure they'll be happy to give them to you down at the docks. I mean, what else are they going to do with them? Can't sell them. Well. All right. So did any of you guys want to do anything before you kind of hunker down for the night? I think, Patty, you're still trying to patch Ronnie up.
Yeah, did I miss anything critical there? I couldn't hear. There were a few closed doors involved.
Oh, okay.
Isla started to your aunt was asking what had happened to Ronnie, and Isla started to just burst out with the entire story, and then Bart interrupted her so that the whole story didn't come out about you with the cleaver in front of the police constable and everything. That's about, I think. Oh no, that's right. Also, the local fish is.
Yeah, I got that part there.
Yeah, you got that part. Yeah, so you just missed that little bit then.
A bit. Okay. Hopefully Ronnie is not going to make me cleaning him up any more difficult than it already is.
Nah, he just sort of gives up. And then he kind of looks at you like, I don't like you, but like he hasn't seen you in a really long time. So for a second, he's like, I don't like you, kind of fades away. And then he's like, hey, it's been a long time.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah, you got to help me get those good for nothings. What do you say?
Yeah, I'm with you. Just don't make it weird, okay?
Not gonna make it weird.
Yeah.
You know who I bet it is? It's that lady. The lady who runs the smuggling ring in this town. That's her goons throwing rocks at us.
Yeah?
I know who they are. I reckon we should just round up a crowd of them and, let them have it. Payback. What do you say?
You got anything to go on other than a hunch? Like my crew doesn't exactly like to work off of just hunches.
Well, I mean, I didn't see who threw the rocks, but everybody knows that she's doing the smuggling in town, that she hates the Coast Guard, and that her goons are up to no good. So who else could it be?
Yeah, maybe you're not as maybe you're a little smarter than I gave you credit for.
Well, I can put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah. Sometimes.
I'm counting on you, Patty, all right?
All right. You stay out of trouble, all right?
All right.
And, yeah, you know, let's not tell your mom anything more than we had to, okay? Especially the part about me, you know, kind of going all aggro.
That's a good idea. She'd go crazy.
Right. All right.
Cool.
Sort of give him a little like fake punch on the cheek.
Cousinly affection.
Can I also say if we're going to be sleeping now, I'm interested in doing my activating my dream.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. Okay, so you guys. I
would like to, if possible. I'm going to hand the keys. Mr. McKendrick, if you'd be so kind as to make sure I have a bed, I'm going to have a quiet conversation for a moment with this constable chappie. And,
I look down at the key and I look back at Robert, and I look down at the key again and I look back at Robert, and I just walk away from him.
I'll go and get a beer and a whiskey and go over and sit down beside the constable. Constable, Robert Leakey, may I buy you a drink and have a quiet chat?
He looks very grateful for the drink. When you paid, you noticed that the price was about double what you would pay in a city area. And so he pulls it over very happily and says, sure. I mean, you know, my day's been awful. It's nice to have a nice chat and a drink to cheer me up a little.
Well, what brings you to a place like this?
He kind of goes, like, yeah, it is a shithole. And then he's like, well, not my own choice. Of course, I'm up here from Porth, which, you know, is like a big city nearby. And he says, but, you know, when there's somebody important involved, we have to go hither, thither, whatever they say, right?
Yeah. Important, you say?
Well, yes. The provost of this town, his wife has disappeared.
Oh, my. Seems awfully careless of him to lose his wife.
Yes. Well, he's lost her real good because I've been here 3 days and we haven't been able to turn up anything useful, not a body, nothing. I mean, it was a few weeks ago she went missing.
The proprietress was speaking about the fish having gone bad. Don't think she had a bad smelt and maybe keeled over in the fins, do you?
I wouldn't know. I mean, the word is in town that she, jumped off the cliffs or something.
Oh.
But if she jumped off the cliffs, where's the body? It should have washed in by now.
Yes, that's devilish strange, isn't it?
I'd say.
Well, I'm sure that my comrades and I will be returning to our ship should we happen to see anyone floating or along the coast. I'd be happy to send word to you.
He finds this quite funny, the idea of that happening. And he says, certainly, sure do, or send another beer. I'll be out of here tomorrow anyway. I can't dig up anything, and I've got more important things to do in Porth than chase up some suicidal woman here.
Well, I wish you a good journey, and I'll slug back the last of my whiskey and head on upstairs, where I fear I may not find a bed.
Do you? What happens? What have you been up to, Bart?
During that whole talk with the constable, I was kind of probably towards the end of the bar area, and I was kind of listening to them, but I didn't want to say anything. I think this whole trip into this town is kind of Bart wanting not to get too involved into whatever all this stuff is going on here in this town, and he's just wanting to get the ship right, get the boat fixed, and get back on the water. So you know, after you know, the conversation's over, I'll probably just head upstairs, make sure Isla gets a place to sleep.
Isla's pretty much like starting to go to sleep next to you near the bar, so you might have to carry her.
Yeah, cool. Even though my bones creak and they ache, I'll carry Isla up the stairs.
Nice. All right. So you guys go to sleep for the night, and let us turn to Isla. Do you want to tell us about your dream? Feel free to embellish or make up the circumstances that you find yourself in your dream.
Yeah. So I think maybe the ship has a figurehead, like a roughly carved figurehead. That's maybe it's of it's a figurehead of the woman that the ship's named after.
Right. Yeah, it's Lillian. Yeah. I love that idea.
That kind of a bit siren-ish kind of, you know, that classic figurehead sort of thing. I don't think it's a particularly impressive one. Like, it's not beautifully made. But I think that when Isla starts dreaming, she becomes the figurehead of the ship. So she's kind of, the ship's going like maybe through a storm, and she's out, like she's kind of become the figurehead. And then she sees there's a woman that she's never met, her grandmother, that she maybe feels like this woman whose face is kind of coming out of the ocean looks like her grandmother. And then she kind of dives, she comes off the ship and dives into the water, and I think they swim down and around each other. And I think they kind of face to face, and the woman's talking to her, but she's not sure that she can understand everything that's...
What does your grandmother look like?
I think she's kind of got like long, wavy, like silvery hair, and the reason Isla thinks that she's probably her grandmother is she looks a lot like her mother. But I think she's also she's got I think she's got very, very soft fur over her like arms and face as well.
Great. So your grandmother sort of like takes you by the hands and like sort of like, I guess, peels you off the side of the ship and into the water. And suddenly you're underneath the water, and sort of like your ears are like you're surrounded by, and your ears are filled with this strange song that's all around you. And your grandmother like is sort of leading you somewhere by the hands. You're sort of like floating through water in an impossible way, like almost like a dance. And she takes you past this area with these fish, and she catches a fish, and she sort of like hands it to you to sort of look at. And you get the sense that the fish is not like, the fish is sick, basically. And like you look at the fish and you start feeling really sad. So at this point, I've got a custom move you can use here if you'd like to.
Yeah.
Basically, the way that the move works is if you want to find out more about the situation going on, you can ask your grandmother a question and roll plus beyond. And on a success, you find out the answer to the question, and the singing sort of becomes intelligible, I guess. And on a failure, the sadness that is starting to swirl around you sort of starts to consume you, and you'll wake up with that still part of you.
Cool, yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm curious about what's making the fish sick and what's making the ocean sick, so I'll roll that.
Cool. So it's plus beyond.
Snake eyes.
Oh no. Oh gosh. Okay, so I think like you pick up this fish and like there's something really wrong with it, and you look down at it, and as you're looking at it, the mouth of the fish like yawns open and starts stretching wider and wider, and it just basically goes so wide it's wider than your head, and sort of like leaps down and consumes you. And you can see your grandmother being like, oh, no, but like she's too slow, and the entire fish sort of like stretches itself over your body, and it goes dark, and then you wake up in the morning with this feeling of deep, dark foreboding, like something is really wrong. So for that, can you take 2 harm, please?
Yep. How many pieces does that clock?
That's the first 2 segments of the
cool.
of the harm wheel. And I should say that similar to other Powered by the Apocalypse games, harm in the first segment will get better by itself. In the second segment, it will require you to do something to make it better, and then in third segment, it'll get worse over time if you don't do anything.
Sure.
But in a short game like this, probably all right. Cool. So that's the night. What we might do now is take a 5-minute break, and then we will come back the next day, if that's cool with people.
Yeah, cool.
So let's jump back at 5-2.
So far.
Thanks.
Pardon?
I'm having lots of fun so far.
Oh, good. Sweet. All right. See you guys in 5 minutes. So 5-2. Cheers.
This is a really lovely game. These playbooks are wonderful.
I'm glad you're enjoying it so far.
I love the way, I love how it's set up, and they are so evocative. Both parts of those playbook sets, just gorgeous.
She is. Yeah, like I kind of said earlier, I think it does take a bit of time for the full impact of them to have time to unfold, but I guess you get a good idea in a session, I think. So one thing I actually wanted to ask about Robert. So you've got that connection with the provost. Did you know
I haven't
the
heard his name yet.
Yeah. So you don't actually know that he's here. Is that right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. I see.
But my guess is that we probably went to school together. I imagine we're both in the same college at Cambridge, sort of thing, and he probably had more money. I probably, was someone that was a friend, and I think he could. I think of my choice, it's going to be he confided something in me, but I don't know it's him yet. And I may have met his wife. It's possible that we were close enough that I was invited to the wedding if they've been married a while.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So we'll I think we'll talk more about that when you find out who it is.
Okay.
But I like that idea a lot. Cool. So it is morning. The rain has finally not stopped. Does it ever stop raining? But sort of slowed to just like a light drizzle. What are you guys all doing? What did you want to do first thing today? And it can be together or it can be separate. Like, feel free to split the party as well. So take a poll, and then we can go around and do each scene.
Well, the first thing Bart wants to do is go get the ship right so he can get him back to the boat. I mean, that's pretty much the straightforward thing he wants to get done. Cool.
So Bart's going to the ship right. What does Patty want to do today?
I think that I'm a little bit sick of seafood, and so are the rest of my crew, and so I'm gonna try to actually make a little nice with Aunt Ruby, and promise to cook up something a little different, and I'll be happy to share with her as long as I can use some landlubbers ingredients.
Cool. Yeah, I like that. So you're kind of hanging around the inn. Isla, did you have any particular things you wanted to do today?
I think Isla's starting the day by just staying underneath the whatever cover, whatever blanket she's got, and just being super quiet. And but then I think, depending on what else happens in the day with the other guys, she'd maybe like to go and sit in the ocean at some point. So she'll go to that.
So let's follow this for a sec. I think Bart, you wake up in the morning and straight away you can see that Isla, there's something weird going on with Isla.
So yeah, I check on her. What's wrong, little one? The darkness scare you last night?
You hear a little like from underneath the covers.
I mean, don't worry. We'll be out of this place as soon as possible. Do you want to talk about it?
You hear like a little.
No, you sure?
I got eaten by a really scary fish.
Oh, it was just a dream, little one. Just let it pass out of your mind. Don't think about it. We've all had nightmares, and especially those of us that have been out in the open water for nights on end. We have all had our fair share of scary ones.
And I think she like lifts the covers up and looks out, and her eyes are just like, she normally has quite big brown eyes, but her eyes are just like, they're totally like she's freaked right out.
Wow.
I think maybe also I'd kind of like to have some sort of tell happening of her
Yeah, cool.
Like, and I think this might be some sort of family like secret or story or something that perhaps Bart would know about. Like, I think you can see she's got like I think I've actually got a move that this could even trigger that's showing a part of my my secret.
So if you're not using it for a particular purpose, then you don't need to roll for it. You just tell us what happens.
Yeah, I think she's got like if you look closely, you can see she's got this fine like fur. Like she's not completely transformed or anything, but you can see like fine fur around, and maybe I think one of the covers is moving strangely. It looks like there's something like moving underneath the cover as well.
So I mean, you're saying this is something that I would know because of the family?
Well, yeah. Well, I'll just out of character for a second. I'm kind of going with this idea of have you heard of Selkies before? They're like a Irish, like a Celtic mythological thing of people that can turn into seals.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I played a Selkie in a Monster Hearts game earlier today.
Rad.
Reoccurred.
So
yeah.
So as I see this in her, my heart kind of stops a little bit, and I just say it real quiet, and I just say, it's not a curse. We all live with what we got, and some of us make it a long way on that. So I'll tell you what, when you're feeling better, I think Patty's going to cook up some breakfast downstairs if you want to go give him a hand.
Yeah, cool. That's the rest of my day planned out then. I think maybe I don't know how I will work on getting rid of this this at least one segment of this thing, but I think at least I'm going to play that conversation has made her recover at least a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Cool. So, Robert, what were your plans for today?
Having heard about these fish, and I'm a little interested in that, so I'm probably going to go and try and go down to the docks, speak to the fishermen, maybe see these fish, open them up, investigate them a little bit.
Cool. All right. I like that. Maybe we'll start with you, actually, Robert.
All right.
So you go down to the docks, and you can see there like a number of fishermen, like not fishing, they're just hanging around and smoking their pipes, kind of like they got nothing to do, and sort of like chatting to each other.
Hello there, gentlemen. Rough seas, that's why you're not out today?
I think they look at you and they're like, no, it's not a rough sea. It's the fishing that's rough. And you don't know if what you catch is going to be worth eating. What's the point?
I heard something about that. Says these fish you've been pulling out are making people sick?
Hi, that's right. And one of them, you know, the like a couple of them are like, sure, you know, get him one, old Tom. Like, so old Tom takes a puff on his pipe and lets the smoke sort of trail into the air, and opens up a crate, and the crate is full of fish, packed full of fish. It's a good catch, but he just takes one out and is like, here, we caught him down south where we usually fish, where the good fishing is. You could take it, just don't eat it, all right?
Thank you. Just looking at this crate, is it all the same kind of fish? Is it all the same like species of fish, or are there a whole bunch of different types?
I think there's a couple of different types in that crate. So there's cod, you can see cod and mackerel as well in there. And
it doesn't matter if it's a cod or a mackerel, you say. They all have this rather unfortunate side effect.
Seems like it's all of them. Well, these big cod are worse. They eat the little ones, right?
Oh. I'll take out my knife and I'll kind of fillet up the fish and try and give it a good look-see, see if I can figure out anything unusual in it, like if it has, you know, a lot of times they have parasites, like you can see the parasites or something like that. Would that be read a sitch?
Yeah, I think the best way to handle that will probably read a situation.
Alrighty. Stay on the table. All right, 6, 7, 8.
8, awesome. So you can ask 2 questions from list, and feel free to like, you know, we'll interpret them broadly, so to make make sure it's applicable.
Well, let's go with the good old-fashioned. What here is not what it seems. What am I when I'm looking at this? Does something seem out of place, or is it infested?
Yeah, definitely. So you don't see any sort of like obvious signs of infestation, but you can like tell inside by looking at the inside of the fish that like this fish is kind of like died in a weird way. Like I'm just gonna say, I don't know if you can actually tell this by looking at a fish, but oh well. Like based on the patterning around the fish, because it's fairly fresh, it seems like this fish is like almost like died from a lack of oxygen. Like it's just like given up.
When you pulled these fish out, were they already dead?
He's sort of like they weren't quite dead, but come to think of it, they weren't flapping around like, you know, usually when you get a catch a fish, they'd be flapping around like anything. These ones just sort of just a little twitch, and then that was it.
Have you tried fishing elsewhere besides the place in the south? Are the fish the same?
Yeah, there's a little bit of fishing up north. Not too good. We have been fishing up there, and that's better. No problems.
If you don't mind, I'll take this. I have some equipment where I can. Well, you wouldn't really understand, but I will take this fish and perhaps give you an idea. Maybe I can help you with this problem. I'm going to use my second question. What should I be on the lookout for? Because biology is actually, because like my book of research, yeah. I'm into parabiology sort of things, the legendary things. So is there something that I can key in on that seems really different?
I think like rather than sort of anything about the fish itself that seems different, you get a good sense of like this fish would be behaving differently in the water. So you get a good sense of what this fish would look like in the water, and you could probably use that knowledge to like track and trace that where the source of these fish are coming from in the water.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Let me look into this. There's nothing that science cannot fix.
They give you a very skeptical look, and they're like, take the crate if you want. And they go back to their smoking.
I won't take the crate, but I will take a couple of the mackerel and a couple of the cod.
Yeah, go for it. Cool. All right, let's cut across to Bart, who's going to visit the shipwright Bart. So you head down to get the shipwright.
Okay.
And he comes back up with you, and you sort of walk back along the cliffs towards the ship. And as you're walking back along, you see I'm curious as to whether you would recognize them. Maybe like you see some people watching you from the distance, and they, out of character, I'll tell you that they work for Eileen. Does Bart recognize them?
Well, how far away are we talking here?
Oh, like close enough that you can make out their facial features, like sort of like yeah, I'll just say that, like basically the maximum distance at which you could definitely identify someone if you knew them.
Yeah, I think that Bart would recognize them, but like kind of not pay attention to him. Like,
okay,
he would avoid making eye contact with him. He just, kind of brush it off.
Okay. Do you want to fill us in at this point about your relationship with Eileen and what option you picked?
Yeah. Originally, I was gonna say it went badly. For sake of story. But up until this point, I decided to change it to. We had a business deal before, and it went well, and we both made fine dollar out of it. And the reason I changed it was because if it had gone badly, I would have convinced Isla to stay on the boat. I wouldn't have wanted to take her into that situation.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so in that case, yeah, one of them like gives you sort of like a wave from a distance.
Yeah, and I ignore the wave, and I just keep talking to the shipwright as we're moving along.
Good. Okay, so you take the shipwright down to the ship, and he has a couple of other guys who sort of join you when you're there, and he looks over the ship. He's impressed by how some of the cracks seem to have been filled with flour, but the condition is not too great. And he tells you it's going to take maybe 4 or 5 days to repair. And he tells you, well, I'll do it for you, and I'll even charge you a good price for it. But he sort of like pulls you aside where the rest of the crew and his men can't really hear, and he's like, I need you to do me a little bit of a favor.
And what favor is this?
Well, it's not too big a deal. I just need some goods delivered. It's too much for me to take on my own, and I'm sure you and a couple of your crewmen wouldn't mind doing it for me. It's just yeah.
I think you're barking at the wrong sea dog here. Maybe in my younger days I would have listened to you out, but I just want you to fix the boat.
Oh, it's nothing. It's nothing illegal or anything like that. It's and he sort of like sighs and like realizes that he's going to have to explain the situation to you, which he doesn't want to do. My niece, she's a good girl. She lives a little way out of the village. Things are a bit hard for her down there with her boy. I need you to take just some things to my niece. It's just dry store of food, that kind of a thing.
So this isn't like a, out of character. I mean, does this needs to be a shipbound delivery? Is that what he's asking?
No. It doesn't have to be by ship. You can just take it. You could take it by foot. He tells you it's like a few hours walk.
I want to know why he can't do it himself.
Do you ask him?
Yeah.
Do you want to try and read a person?
Sure. So what am I rolling? Is it beauty?
It's brains for read a person.
Brains, okay. So that's 0. Straight up roll. Oh, sweet. Boxcars. It's a 12.
Oh, well, no worries then. So during the course of your conversation, then you can ask 3 of those questions at any time.
Okay.
Yeah. So are you going to straight up ask him why he needs it done or why he can't do it himself?
Yeah, pretty much. If I could use that as one of the questions, I mean, that's fine.
I mean, no, you can just ask him in conversation.
Yeah, I'm
doesn't
asking.
take up a question. Yeah, and
Right.
then he's just going to say, look, that's my business, not yours. If you want your ship fixed, that's my terms.
Is he telling the truth?
About that it's his business and not yours. Yes.
Oh no. Like, I mean, is that his only? Is he telling truth? That's the only terms of him fixing the boat is if I do that.
Oh, no, but you sense that he's going to charge you a highly inflated price if you don't agree to it, and you're going to have to work with the captain to somehow get those extra funds.
Okay. How can I get him to tell me more about this package he wants me to bring?
I think you know about family, right? You're a guy for whom family is very important. So I think if you sort of work that angle a bit, you might get him to open up.
Okay. So so this niece of yours, is she in trouble?
Yeah, he sighs and looks out and says, yeah, look, she's in a bit of trouble. She's, you know how I said she's all alone down there with her child? Just her and a child, if you get my meaning.
Oh, I understand.
Now,
it's a very touchy subject.
Yeah. Her mother lives in town and it doesn't take too kindly to anyone helping her out. That's why I thought, well, that's my sister. That's why I thought, it's better if strangers do this kind of a thing. I don't want to be seen to step on any toes. But
so who's the father?
She needs the stuff. He's gone. Long gone.
Let's see. I get one more question, don't I? So what does this character really need the most?
He really genuinely cares for his niece, but he is also terrified of his sister's influence, and so basically what he needs the most is just any discreet way of getting this stuff to his niece that cannot be linked to him as much as possible.
Fine.
He's after a quick fix.
Yeah, okay, I got you. Yeah, fine, I'll do it. But you get my boat fixed as quick as possible, and it better not leak the next storm, or this will be the next port I visit after that storm.
Yeah, he just he nods and is like, yeah, thank you then for understanding. If you I'll show you the stuff, and he takes you back to his workshop. Around the back, he's got a pile of thatching on a cart, and then he lifts up some of the pile of thatching, and you can see underneath there's a whole bunch of dry store, fishing net, there's a chair, there's some potatoes, there's a whole bunch of stuff.
So I intently look through it. I want to make sure I'm not running contraband through this town.
Yeah, you look through it and you don't find any contraband, and he's just standing there with his arms folded being like, yeah. And you ain't gonna find anything illegal there, but I'd still appreciate, don't you tell anyone that I sent this, all right? Otherwise you can forget about me fixing your ship.
Just start working on the boat. And I grab the stuff, right. And I start moving.
Okay, yeah, he gives you a nod and he goes back towards the boat. Let us cut over now to Patty and Isla. So you guys are in the inn. And Patty, so what's you're cooking up a big meal, is that right?
Yes, preferably some beef, and I guess it'll be a bit of a brunch. And there's always potatoes, so some beef, eggs, and home fries. Sounds pretty.
Feel free to narrate, Charles, how you're like asking Isla to help you and stuff. I'm happy just to have a little backseat while you explain that.
Yeah, I let you crack the eggs. And when you're done with that, maybe leave the potatoes alone. They just need watched so they crisp up. But every 5 or 10 minutes, I'll say, okay, yeah, now stir. But watching the potatoes is how they get crispy and brown. So you've got a very important job, Isla.
Yeah, and Ruby is sort of like oscillating between like, good heavens, do you know how expensive that is? And then like, that smells really delicious, actually.
Yeah, and I'll even let's put our differences aside for a bit, and I'll bust out some of my secret herb blend, and I think I've come across some wild seasonings like garlic and cumin. So we're sort of going with a bit of a like Mexican type, like Irish Mexican food here.
That's awesome. Go for it.
That'll give me +1. I'm down to 2 doses. Don't think that'll be a problem. Oh, and that one's cocked, but I think I'll reroll dual 1. 7 +2, but that's actually +3 because of the spices. So yay, the spice made a difference, and I get to choose 2. Of course, I was looking to make a delicious feast. I didn't want to be mean, and so I'll pick the 2. Everyone becomes uninhibited and loose-lipped, and everyone feels obliged to repay me for my hospitality.
Oh, good. Nice. Okay. So, so you make like a large amount of food, you serve it up, like it smells amazing. Even Ruby is just like she's like, I think you've also like helped bring people into the inn as well. Like there's like people milling around and it's like, what is this? And when she sees this has kind of gone down, like her sort of approach to you like does a 180, and she's sort of just like, like, Ronnie, why can't you like be as good as your cousin? Like, look at this delicious feast that Patty's cooked. How come you never cook us anything like that? And he's just like, so as people start coming in, I want to give you sort of control here. When people are becoming uninhibited and loose-lipped, is there anything in particular that you are interested in finding out? Otherwise, I'll just I'll find something.
Yeah, I guess some of their rumors or things that they've heard about the seafood, because he was very careful to avoid that for, I guess, now 2 reasons. 1, they're sick of it from the ship, and 2, it will make people sad or sick or both. So I'm interested in the rumors about that, and any other, I guess, some family gossip. Or one of those 2 you want to.
Cool. That's cool. Okay, so I'm gonna like roll all this up into 1, I think, because I actually want to get you to roll your outcast move here, because I think for the first time there's people coming to the inn, they're seeing you cooking in a good light, but you are in good company. So can you roll your outcast move? But I'm gonna give you a +1 as sort of like a carry forward from the fact that, even though you've got the A on your arm and like you're visibly branded from your past, they're seeing you for the first time in a good light. So it's sort of a carry forward from the your chef move.
Cool. This would be the public eye when I'm mixing with respectable company, blah, 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 and I'm choosing to hide my sin. So like it's there, but I'm getting work done, I guess. The way at least the move is written, like to trigger the trigger is that I have to actually try to hide it somewhat. So
yes, yeah.
I guess
I mean, you can choose not to hide it. That is an option as well. It just means that people are going to react to it.
Let's I think one that actually makes a little bit of sense here and would be, and also because he's kind of he's a bit of a rebel and likes not always being nice and peaceful and politically correct and all. So he'll a little passive aggressively like roll up the sleeves and
okay, cool.
And choose not to hide your sin option, and
okay.
So others will not be shy with judgment, but I'm gonna go with you redeem yourself to some.
Okay, so cool.
That fits in with Ruby's reaction or Ronnie's. I don't know. It's seeming a little late in the game to throw in new NPCs. So.
I like that. I think that fits in well with your actions so far. So yeah, I mean, I think Ronnie and like Ronnie's immediate he's got some mates there from the Coast Guard who are eating there with him, and they're making a show of like being friendly and like being open and all that stuff. And your aunt has obviously changed her tune, but I think there are other people like who see the scar on your arm, and they know Ruby, right? She's like really quite a religious person, and that doesn't seem like the kind of thing that she would want in her inn. And so you overhear a conversation that she's having with some of the people coming in, which is sort of like how could you, Ruby, how could you let someone like that like cook in your inn? Like, don't you have any faith in your belief? Like, don't you that seems like something you would never do. And she's just like she's quite taken aback. She doesn't really know how to react to this, and I think that some of the customers just like, they were going to come in for food, but they take one look at you and they sort of just walk out, and they're like, you won't see us back in here anytime soon. But
I'll stay quiet, but the thought that's going through my head, I think, would be just good more for me and my crew. Have to save them some leftovers since they went.
And while Ruby is busy, Ronnie and one of the other guys from the Coast Guard who you don't know, his name is Patrick, sort of like catch you, Patty, and they're like, well, you remember what we talked about yesterday, Patty? About, getting even.
Oh, with the gang, was it?
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't written down the name of that gang if they were there.
I don't think you knew their name. That you just know that they're the smuggling ring, basically.
Yeah. What do you want me to do about it right now?
Not right now. I'm talking about tonight. I think that could be our chance. Me and some of the other boys are going to be meeting outside the inn in the night, and we're going to go over and, get even. You want in?
I'm a maybe at this point, and I'm going to have to find out if they take any if they're going to make good on that implicit threat to the ship. But we had one goal to get here, and I don't want to be starting up trouble. You guys may just have to handle it on your own. I'm gonna let's work out a kind of signal if we need to. Maybe a couple candles for yes and one for no, something.
Sure, like don't need to be so complex. You know, I live here, so we're just gonna hang out outside the inn. At some point, we'll head on our way. You can come with us if you want.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm not a one-man army, and I don't decide what my friends do. So we'll see. All right.
All right. Isla, how's your morning going?
Yeah, Isla has been doing that thing that kids do, I guess, when she had a bit of a sad, hard time, and she's kind of absorbed herself completely in the job that Patty gave her. So she was it's made her feel a lot better to make chips crispier by staring at them. She feels powerful now that she's done that, and she's just having a nice time, I guess, hanging around off of the ship and watching people, and yeah, I think she's just kind of hanging around and trying to make herself feel better by being distracted.
Yeah, I think during the time that you're cooking, you sort of you feel inside you like a tugging towards the water. Yeah. How do you react to that feeling?
I think it's she normally loves the water, but I think now that after her dream, there's a bit of trepidation about reapproaching the ocean. So I think she does go. I think maybe even she slips away at some point after she's eaten the delicious fusion cuisine.
Yep.
Yeah, so I kind of imagine maybe even being on the outskirts of town, on a little beach or something, and just sitting and watching the water.
Yeah, cool. Okay, let's cross to Robert. Robert, what's your next thing that you wanted to get done?
I'm probably heading back to the inn. I have these fish, which if possible, I would have picked up a canvas bag or something and thrown them in, just so I'm not hauling dead fish in my hand. Head back to the inn to see if Bart has made it back.
But are you letting anyone know where you're going, or are you just sort of I'm getting this job done and heading off straight away?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm just saying, look, I'm doing a favor for an old friend. I gotta run this food out of town real quick, but I'll be right back. It's gonna be 4 or 5 days before the shipwright gets the boat fixed. So it looks like we're marooned here for a few days. So let's do our best to keep our heads down and out of trouble while we're here.
Mr. McKendrick, I was thinking, since it seems we're going to be stuck here for some time, they're having a bloody awful time with these fish. I was thinking of maybe taking a little trip to the south, close to their fishing areas. Would that be all right?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, sure. I mean, anything for your scientific pursuits, Mr. Robert. But I'll tell you this. When we shove off in 4 or 5 days, when that shipwright gets the boat fixed, you better be back at the docks by then.
Oh, well, I don't intend to be gone very long. I can't imagine roughing it out on the coast. Goodness, no.
Oh, good. Okay, so but you set off down one way along the coastline, and Robert, you set off the other way down the coastline. And I think, but as you're walking down, you know, or Bart or Robert, I'll let you make the call. Which one of you is going to run into Isla, sort of sitting by herself, on a little beach?
It's up to you. I would love to. I have this sort of image that I've been trying to teach her when they're on the boat.
Right.
I think I like her. And so I get this impression that I've probably been teaching her figures and teaching her to read, because a proper young lady needs to know how to read. But
yeah, sorry, go Tyler.
I was just going to say, if it's whichever you would prefer there, Pat.
Oh, no, that's cool. We go with that.
I was kind of interested in maybe having a scene. I was thinking of transforming into my my Selkie form, and I thought maybe that could be an opportunity maybe for Robert to potentially like see that happening, or almost see.
Oh, that's awesome!
Yeah,
I really like that. So I think then let's let Lou. Do you want to set up that scene? What you're doing, and then maybe when it is that Robert sees you.
Yep, cool. Yeah, so I think Isla, she's sitting on the beach for quite a while, and she's looking out into the ocean. She's like thinking about her dream, and then she's thinking about what Bart had said to her, and probably thinking about her family, which I think they're probably on a ship somewhere on the way to Australia, and she's wondering what they're doing and kind of missing them. Then I think she feels that compulsion again to enter the sea, so she slowly walks down into the water. I think she strips off actually, and she's got, maybe hides her stuff, and she's got her she's got the narwhal horn with her. That's like a family heirloom, and she walks into the water. I don't think we see her transform or anything at the moment, but she just walks she just goes underneath the
water. Oh, okay. So Robert kind of sees you walk into the water and underneath the water. Is that right?
I'm happy for him to see that. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
I imagine it. Isla, good dear girl, and I'll run down towards the beach.
Yeah.
You must be careful. The tides will be quite treacherous. Oh dear God, I think she's drowning. And I'll run straight towards the water to try and save her.
Great. So, do you kind of like run straight into the water?
Yeah, I'm diving in and trying to swim out to where I last saw her. I think she's drowning, and of course, poor people quite often can't swim.
Yeah, it's true. Isla, do you notice Robert? And if you do, how do you react to that?
I think she's a little bit worried at first, but she's, now that I think maybe if we think of the camera kind of being under the water, I think she's a seal now, and she's I think I kind of like actually the idea that she's got the narwhal horn is like
attached. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
And I think she's you know how seals can kind of do that big like scary looking smile with all the stuff. I think she kind of does that. There's like a sparky laughy noise, and she thinks it's funny that because he's such a proper kind of that he's run into the water like that. I kind of imagine maybe she gets out behind a couple of waves and she like does the breaching, like she jumps out of the
water. So Robert, you just see a seal
with a horn. I'm struck dumb as I see this. My God, completely undiscovered animal. I'm going to be famous. And but I'm still concerned about her. So I'm kind of staring out there. I'm still looking around to Isla, and kind of diving down to see if despite the fact there would be no way if she drowned that tide wouldn't have whisked her off. I'm still fruitlessly trying to find her. And
I think also, Robert, as you sort of like start looking through the water to try and find Isla, you notice also one of those fish swimming in that strange behavioral pattern that it twigs in your mind that this must be one of the affected fish. I don't know if that's probably not a priority for you right now, but you do notice it.
Okay. And Isla, you probably could see that Robert is truly upset. He's really worried. And, after a few minutes, he sort of is breaking down and becoming frantic in this, oh, dear God, girl, Isla. And he might even be crying a little now that she's not surfaced for, 5-6 minutes.
I think maybe she is concerned about like changing back where you can see her. I think maybe she swims up like along the beach a little bit, maybe just about the next little headland, and she comes out of you just see, I guess, a girl walking out of the water, and she's kind of hurrying back down the beach behind him to grab her clothes. She's also completely naked, so she's not particularly wanting anyone to see her. So I think maybe she's quickly got her clothes back on, and she's calling out to you. I think she's standing on the beach, and she's very obviously holding the horn. Yeah.
All right. Robert turns around. I run back, swim back, run up there, and run up. Isla, dear girl, you gave me a terrible fright, and I'll strip off my coat, even though it's wet, so it's not going to be any help. And put it around. You tides like these, they could whip you away with. Oh, dear girl. And I'm going to hug her up if she'll let me, and just be relieved. Oh, you had me very worried, young lady.
I think you notice she's not she doesn't seem to be cold or even breathing heavily or anything at all. She's just I'm sorry you were worried. And she's putting the horn back in a little shoulder bag and stuff.
I'll notice that horn. Is it, can I see that was very similar to the horn that was on that seal?
Well, I think you were saying earlier that you're interested in that kind of,
I think I'd like to try and trigger a move here, if possible. Mm-hmm. I'd like to trigger my inside knowledge.
Inside knowledge, yes. Okay, yeah, do it. So how are you going to... Yeah, sorry, you're doing it. Do it.
Isla, dear, I saw something out there that had a horn very similar to the one you're carrying. Isla, did you see something like that?
I think she laughs at you.
I'm
going. You want to make your move, yeah.
I'm going to try my roll there. It's not my best roll. Oh, I got a 5 on one. Ooh, well, that's a 6 on the other. I got an 11.
Nice. So on an 11, what is the result?
Let's see. I choose 3. So I'm going to learn a secret.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to choose... They don't become suspicious of my motives.
Uh-huh.
I don't reveal any secrets of my own.
Uh-huh. Cool.
And I think I want to keep this quiet. No rumors will spread about about this relationship. So there's my 3.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So basically it's just one moment that you guys are having. Isla, maybe you're a bit caught off guard by the situation occurring. So it's for you Lou to sort of like describe how Isla reveals a secret. And it can be any secret. It doesn't have to be about your true self.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of, I imagine maybe that that Robert maybe has some questions for her about so what do you know? What you know that I guess maybe you know something about Selkies or something like that, and you might mention that. You did ask if she saw something. She's like, no, I didn't see anything like that out there. And I think maybe the secret that I think maybe it's still that I think it's that tell thing again. I think she's still, the end of the transformation is still happening. So I think it's kind of an unspoken. She's got a bit of a twinkle in her eye, and you can kind of, you're joining the dots, and you can still see there's a little bit of that kind of soft fur that's maybe even like slowly like disappearing. Like,
and I could probably see a little in your expression, maybe that I'm touching on a subject that you don't really want to talk about, sort of thing.
Yeah, maybe even the shape of her eyes is changing in a slight way, like it's the end of her transforming. I think it's not that she doesn't want to tell you, but she's just probably been like maybe told not to tell people.
I'm going to kind of bring her up close again, and Isla, you gave me quite a scare. You're a very remarkable young woman, and I've grown very fond of you. You know that if you ever need someone's help, I'm here for you. And I'll sort of pat her on the head awkwardly, since I'm not good with children, sort of thing. And well, come on, I fear that I'm rather damp.
Lovely.
Okay. Yep.
Can I just add one little thing, like as a little, I guess, planning thing that I'd like to have some sort of way to interact with this, like helping with the poison fish part of the story, and I've got a couple of ideas, but
cool.
Yeah, if you can find any way to include me in that, Tyler.
No, 100%. Like that's where you guys are going. We'll cut back to you, and I assume that's what Robert's priorities are here.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah, you guys can work through that one. But let's cut over for the moment to Bart, I think. So Bart, you are headed along the cliffs towards the house of Bart's niece, whose name you know is Amy. And you get about half an hour out of town where you can see those men who were watching you before approaching you, basically. And you recognize the big one. There's a big guy and a little guy. Sorry, a big guy and a smaller lady. The lady, you don't remember her name, but the big guy you remember, his name is Mac. And he's sort of like Eileen's number one guy. And he sort of swaggers up to you and puts a foot on the cart to stop it moving. And he says, well, Barty, good to see you again then. Where are you off to with this lot?
How you doing, old Mac? Just heading out of town. Gonna bring a friend some supplies from out of town.
Yeah, what friend would that be?
No, just a friend that lives right out of town. If you just take your foot off the cart, and I'd be on my way.
Do you want to act under pressure to see? Actually, I don't think you're trying to hide the fact you're lying, right?
No, I mean I'm not truly lying. I'm just I'm not giving all the information.
You're brushing it off.
Right.
Yeah, you're trying to brush it off. So I would like to get a better understanding of Bart's approach here. Are you trying to intimidate him, or are you trying to sort of manipulate him to just leave you alone, basically?
Yeah, it probably wouldn't be intimidation. I don't know how intimidating Bart can be outside of his capacity as one of the lead guys on the boat. You know, I'm sure in his younger days, Bart was a pretty intimidating guy, but you know, nowadays he's kind of ragged and worn out by the sea. So it's probably more of a manipulating thing, just trying to let, you know, Mac hopefully see me on my way, even though I know he's not going to.
Cool. Do you want to roll to manipulate another then?
Let me see.
Unless you've got another approach.
You know what? I was thinking about the move of the kinsman, where if I act in the manner of my kin. So
okay, yeah, cool.
If I'm showing that I have a job to do, that's pretty much the McKendrick way. Using the resources, I'm using what I got to get my boat fixed, and this is my job: is delivering these goods to somebody outside of town, and not letting anybody stop me.
Right. I like
just
that.
shooting head forward in my job.
Cool. So go for that one then.
Okay, that's how do I roll on that?
So you add your family stat basically. So when you fill out your descriptor, you should have picked one stat for your family that your family's most associated with, and that's the one that you add.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't do that, but I
well,
would
you can
probably,
pick it now.
I would probably say brain. It seems like, you know, that's
it fits.
Yeah. So we'll go with that. We'll go with brain. All right. So that's a 6 and a 1. That's a 7 plus 1 for the kin, and that's 8. So yeah, I get to choose 2, and then I have to choose 1 of the ones below.
Yep.
Technical note, on the kinsman, that would be where that would be from, right? That mechanical thing.
Yeah.
Right.
That family stat. I don't see anything about that on the kinsman descriptor.
I think it is associate your kin with a particular stat and say why. So it's in the section which is like describe the following of your kin, but it's right down the bottom.
Oh, okay. It's the last line in that colored box. I see it now.
Yeah.
Let's go with I have the clout of my kin. Speak the will of my kin and give +1 to anyone who follow it, and then the one under that. You have the tools of your kin. Say what your kin has given you, and take 1 the next time you use it. Do I have to describe what tool that is?
Yeah, you do. So both of those you'll need to describe, essentially. But you can hold off on the tools until you want to use it if you would like to.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I'll hold off, and then for the one underneath it, I'll say I reveal my kin's weakness, which is stubbornness.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So how are you showing your kin's clout and revealing your weakness?
So I pretty much I'm like, look, Mac, if you don't move your foot, this cart probably weighs what, 100, 150 pounds, 200 pounds maybe. Your foot's still gonna be under it when I get moving. So you probably have about 5 seconds to move your foot, and I just start pulling the cart. Pretty much showing, you know, this is the McKendrick way. I'm getting the damn job done.
All right. Nice.
You move your foot or not, I'm going that way.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think he moves his foot out of the way, and he just says to you, all right, you know, you do what you gotta do, buddy. But Eileen wants to have a chat with you when you come back into town, and I wouldn't recommend turning her down, all right?
Whatever you say, Matt, because I'm just walking down the road. I don't even turn and look at him and say it. I'm just like,
sunset, he yells after you. Come and pay your respects, all right?
Whatever you say, Mac. Peace out, bruh. That's pretty much what I'm doing.
Yeah, good. All right. So you walk off. What is happening with Patty?
So is it a correct assumption to think that like I've kind of got this night of action where the Coast Guard wants to strike the smuggling ring, like my crew is all out doing other stuff. Is that, or am I a day off?
So like in terms of how we want to play this, like in the real world, I guess, of the game, technically you've got the rest of the afternoon before that happens. But in the game, we probably want to cut to the action and give you a chance to sort of move forward with your story, even if it means that we're kind of out of the time loop with everybody else.
I think it works with the time loop totally okay. And I'm just not sure how well it fits in within the tone of the game to like basically kind of go aggro here and make it and throw in a little bit of combat stuff. Although I did want to check in with Pat and question, like I wanted to make sure that I wasn't getting into things that that mess up what he had in mind for Eileen, because my intent would be to I've got this descriptor, better off alone. I'm gonna tell these guys, look, I like what you're doing, and hang back. And if you see me at the end of all this, great news, problem solved. If you don't, after a while, I've done all the damage I could. Try and make the best of the situation. It's out of my control. And you know, it's bullshit that I got to do this for you guys. The faithful my ass. Like, your faith doesn't give you the courage to dive in and do this stuff that needs to get done. Fuck you guys. And I know he has a butcher's cleaver, but maybe for a little bit of cinematic effect, I was looking at the little pictures of cleavers online, thinking I'm going to go to town with my cleaver now. And he would probably, you know, have an in with the blacksmith and could have one a bit custom made. That's of course got the full handle with just wood around the grip, but also at the back, still part of the same chunk of metal. There's a hole through which he'll thread a chain when he's like going into a such situation, like to wreck stuff. And it can still be used as melee if he's kind of holding the chain, but his sort of combat MO is to like chuck this thing and then whip it back with his chain.
Yeah.
And I'll put that up to the table. I can do something else, but it seems like that was a story thread that I could wrap up. And it says right in the thing, when you reject the help of others and enter danger alone. Okay.
Yeah. So, like I like, of course, want to hear what everyone else thinks, but for me, that's like within keeping. A retaliatory act of violence is within keeping in the tone of the game. That obviously anything you do is going to have consequences. And I think Patty knows that, and Patty knows what he's getting into. In terms of like mechanically, combat is obviously not the focus of the game. So any sort of combat that arises will probably be resolved in 1 or 2 moves. If it's a really big combat, it might take a couple more moves than that. But like basically, like, you know, yeah, that's basically it. It will result in 1 or 2 moves. But in terms of narratively, like that's 100% something you can do.
Yeah, and my intent would be like killing off a few of the underlings would be not a big deal, but Eileen in particular, he would exercise restraint with and just try to intimidate her into finding another town.
Okay, right. So you're okay. So are you just gonna like, so just to get an understanding of completely what's happening, you've told the other guys to like wait and you're going ahead, or to go for it and then you're sort of going to follow up after them?
The first. Yeah,
the first one. Like
tell them keep an eye out behind me, and if I come back in a reasonable amount of time, a couple hours or so, then we'll celebrate, and you can show me where you've been stashing those bottles of booze. If I don't, well, make the best of the situation. I'm prepared to go out here.
Yeah, and Ronnie claps you on the arm, and he says, "Good man. It's a shame, you know, we didn't have more time together growing up. I think we'd get along."
Yeah, who knows?
So, yeah. Are you just striding up to the house? Like, what's your approach here? You know which house it is. It's basically the biggest, nicest house in town. It's impossible to miss it. Like with white lacquered paint at the front. It's like the only place in town that has like proper fencing around it. Like it's easy to know which one it is.
I think whether or not I have the element of surprise, I'll try to get the element of surprise. Okay. Try to like climb up a back window or something like that. Because I want to sort of catch Eileen out on her own and let her know that she's just not safe. But I think I'll let the better off alone move determine whether I do. I think the one that I'm definitely going to pick if I get a chance is the +2 intimidate.
Okay, cool. So do you want to? I'll set up the scene just so you know what you've got to play with, and then if you want to make the move, and based on your results, you can kind of describe what happens. So you approach the Eileen's house from an oblique angle, so that it's difficult to see you coming, and you can see and you were expecting this. There's sort of 3 or 4 of her people lounging around outside, just keeping watch and that kind of thing. And then around the back of the house, there's a couple more. And you can hear and sort of see flickers of movement from inside the house where it's lit up by candles. So that's the situation that you're kind of going into.
Okay. Let's try a distraction. If I can scrape up some rocks, or else I guess I didn't explicitly mention that I left the iron pot behind, but I can't think of anything that I need it for immediately. So why not just for color's sake say there's not any rocks around, and I'm just gonna huck this iron pot as far off in the bushes as I can, or some kind of.
You can roll. It'll sort of better off alone now, and it can kind of cover the whole situation if you want. Cool. Just because of the session being being a one shot situation.
Yeah. I'm familiar with other games that kind of have one roll to just decide the whole scene. So that's not foreign. 5 and 5. I am nice. Kind of succeeding with style here at a.
Yeah, so you can choose 2.
I'll be scary as the devil and gain the element of surprise. And cool. I don't have to choose one of the 7 to 9 then, I guess.
Awesome. So do you want to describe how you get into the house without anybody noticing and manage to come face to face with Eileen sort of like one-on-one. I think that's the situation that role gets you to.
Cool. At the risk of being a little too gonzo, like the distraction trick works, and I'll use the cleaver to give it a mighty hook up toward the building, and it might be like a solid thunk in the wall, but just because of luck and such, no one really notices it or thinks too much of it, and I'll kind of use that to climb up and just sneak into a window, maybe with Eileen sort of catching her in the bedroom or the bathroom or something like that. Who knows?
Okay, cool.
Maybe a study.
Yeah, I think I like that. We'll freeze your scene there and come back to you.
Great.
I like where it's going. It's interesting. Let's go back to Isla and Robert and this fish situation.
All right. I suppose we're continuing along. I probably worried that Isla still having that little bit of worry about her because of this kind of being scared she had drowned. If she'll let me, I'm probably holding her hand as we walk along. And I'm probably starting to shiver pretty good too, because I'm in completely drenched clothes. But I'm still stalking along and telling stories, I suppose, as we go.
And what are you looking for, or where are you trying to head?
I'm trying to get to kind of where I saw one of those fish in the area where we were. So I'm going to try and kind of just walk along the beach and occasionally, let's see, I don't know if let's see, what do I have for the thing there?
If you're like just looking for an area where the fish are clustering, I'm not going to make you roll for that because you've already done the work of rolling to know what that would look like. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, then when we get somewhere that looks good for it, I'm going to roll up my pants leg kind of pointlessly now since they're still wet and go out into the water. Isla, dear, I'm going to try and see if I can ascertain what is happening with these fish. Please, you can stay with me. But don't go disappearing into the water. You'll give me a full-on conniption.
So Lou, you mentioned before you had some ideas about how Isla might approach this situation. What were you thinking?
Well, I think this scene fits it nicely. I was thinking perhaps one of my creature moves is a move called Others Like Me. When you call creatures like you, I'm thinking now that that Robert is in the water and I'm standing on the shore. It might be cool to call up a bunch of like selkies.
Do it.
And I'm hoping there's going to be, if I succeed, I think it does something like they leave me with some, what does it say? They leave me with something puzzling and otherworldly, but I'm hoping, and I can choose something. I'm hoping maybe it will be something related to this problem.
Absolutely. Go for that one. I think that's awesome.
Okay, here we go. And it's plus beyond. I got a 9.
A 9. Awesome. So choose. Oh, that's a success. Yes. So they come to help you, but choose one.
I'm thinking I'm choosing between either they appear in monstrous guise.
Yeah.
Like they're super scary. Maybe just they appear as visions or dreams within the minds of those present.
Awesome. Oh, that's so good. So I think what they can do is sort of like lead you to a particular spot. Like I think they point you in a direction and show you how to get to a particular spot. So do you want to describe how your people appear as visions in the minds of those present and what that looks like?
I'd like to, can I pass that over to you, Tyler? I'd like, because I assume Tyler's seeing these visions.
Yes.
As well.
Yeah,
I'm happy to watch this from the shore.
Cool.
Like, I'll be involved with that. But tell me what you see and where they lead you.
Okay. Well, I've gotten, knee deep in this water when this school of the Silkies arrive, and I kind of imagined them as being beautiful and sleek. I mean, obviously kind of dangerous and a little scary, but just, for Robert to see these things he's heard about, he's read about, to actually see a group of them. And as they jump, and they have the narwhal horns on them as well. Oh, my God. I'll look back to Isla. Isla, can I tell? Is it apparent to me that you called them? Do you display something that lets me know that, or make some noise?
Yeah, I think I might be. I'm holding on to my horn as well, and I think maybe I'm like I'm whispering to the narwhal horn.
Isla, Can they tell us what's happened here? What's happened to these fish? And I'm going to kind of try and reach out to touch one, but I imagine it pulls away. But
and so I guess they're going to lead us somewhere, or they're indicating that we should,
So I think you guys, there's a fishing boat nearby, and you guys sort of initially you try to wade out of the water, but then Robert, you realize it's going to be a bit further than that. So you get in a fishing boat and start following them. And as you're doing this, the sun is setting, and the sky is turning dark as you're rowing out, and there's a big moon. And you're rowing and you're following them, and you notice that the currents are starting to change and become strange as you follow them. And then you can see ahead of you in the dark, still water, sort of like a flicker of light, like the shape of a human body forming from light above the water. And she starts to sing, and the Selkies kind of sing back at her. And Isla, you recognize this as the song that was surrounding you in the water in your dream.
I grab on to Robert, because that was a scary dream. Although I guess it's a song that my grandmother was singing to me, so that was probably the nice part of the dream, but it's not a good association.
Yeah. And as you follow them, eventually you draw closer, and that sort of same sad feeling starts sinking in around you, Isla, and Robert, you feel strangely sad as well. And eventually you reach a point where the currents are sort of change, and they're sort of pushing against the boat, like they're trying to push the boat back away from something. And that's when the others like you, Isla, the Selkies, they just sort of stop there, well, here's the spot. This is where we can take you. And you can see these fish and bits of seaweed sort of being pushed away by these strange currents. What do you do?
Isla, do you know what this woman is? Can you understand her?
Can I understand her, or can I understand are there words in this song?
you can roll to sense the beyond, and sort of try and connect with the song and see if you can understand it.
That's a 5.
Okay. So I think you almost you feel like you almost understand the words, and you leaning closer into this strange current, and as you do leaning closer, the current rocks the boat and you sort of fall over the edge and go tumbling into the water. Being in the water is not really an issue for you. You're pretty comfortable there, but the problem that's facing you is that because of the intensity of your dream and the music surrounding you, the sadness is almost pulling you down, sort of blocking you from changing like you normally would and swimming. We'll come back to you guys, I think, at this stage. Let's cross over to Bart. So, Bart, you have made your way along the cliffs, and finally you arrive at a small hut, and sort of you go to knock in the door, but you kind of have to temper your blows a bit because it looks like the door is going to sort of fall in if you knock it at full strength. And the door is opened by a gaunt woman who's got a little child running around beside her, and she looks sort of very surprised to see you, and she says, hello? How can I help you?
I'm sorry to bother you, ma'am, but my name is Bart McKendrick, and I'm first mate on the Lily Ann. We're in port, and I don't think we ever got the shipwright's name, did we?
It's Bart.
Oh yeah, that's right. It is Bart. Yeah, Bart, the shipwright from town, needed me to run these supplies out to you, so I brought them in this cart. If you'd like, I'll unload the cart from you, but I have to take the cart back and be back in town pretty soon.
So you sort of peer in around the door into the hut, and you can see there really is not much there. There's a mattress on the floor and one broken chair and half a sack of potatoes, and she looks just completely overwhelmed by the amount of things you've brought. But also she's oh, he shouldn't have done that. He shouldn't have done that.
No, it's fine. It's fine, ma'am. Don't worry about it. Let me get these things inside, and I'll be on my way.
Mm-hmm. So she helps you unload everything off the cart, and as you sort of go and turn around to leave, she says, look, you should be careful. My mother wouldn't like you coming here, and so you might want to just, I'm sure she's got somebody following you, so you might just want to look out for yourself on the way back.
Yeah, I was getting that feeling on the way myself. If you speak to your mother, tell her I meant no harm, and I'll be on my way.
We don't speak, and I don't really have any. There's nothing I can do. Just look out for yourself. All right. Thank you for coming, and you have a good night.
I will. Thank you, and take care of yourself and this little one. So yeah, okay. I will leave. I don't want to linger there. Get the job done. Get out. I got to go meet Eileen. Before Mac decides to club me in the back of the head when I'm not looking.
Yeah, and as you're sort of walking back to town, it's the sun is starting to set. I think Mac and you know, a couple of the others just sort of like come and start walking beside you, not in an unfriendly way, but just in like a now's the time that we're going there kind of way. Let's cross back to Patty. So you've come in through the window and you've caught Eileen. I kind of like that she's sort of in the study, drinking a cup of tea. She's a small, petite, grey-haired woman with sort of like a very, how do I describe the look on her face? Like, she almost doesn't seem that surprised to see you, even though you've turned up out of nowhere. But she does put down her cup of tea and says, well, how did you get in? I need to improve my security.
Yeah, you certainly do. But I'll warn you that if you sound an alarm, I'll get violent when I don't need to be. So, look, so far I haven't hurt anybody. All your guards are fine. And I eye her very suspiciously, actually might even approach a little bit closer and like still have the like cleaver and a chain, like you know, rattle the chain a little bit to be menacing. And basically just make his demand. This town is sick of your smuggling operation. Look, I don't know, and I don't care what you're smuggling. And if you ask me, these liquor laws are bullshit. But so I'm not their enforcer about that. But I'm sure that liquor ain't all you get up to, and you know, at least I can get it at the inn, right? So I don't think you're gonna be. I don't think you're going to be restricting things to liquor only, but you think you could find another town to go bother?
You want me to leave town?
Yeah.
Do you want to roll here to see how intimidating you are with the +1 that you picked from your option earlier? I think there's probably, we'll give the roll a go and we'll see how it pans out.
Yeah, I'm like the actually intimidating move might be to like slam the flat side of the cleaver down on the desk and make the tea clatter up. And,
yeah, I think so.
That's the snap moment where he's really intimidating and scary. But she would notice that there's no blood on the cleaver yet. So I roll plus brawn, which is a 2 plus 1. I got a +3. Dice don't fail me now, or do, because that is a 6, 7, 8, 9. So
9. Okay, so in that case, it's the same as before, where I pick an option for her. I think you slam the cleaver down next to her, and for a second, like, there is a look of shock on her face, which looks kind of alien to her face. And then she sort of like regains her regular composure. And she says to you, look, you told me that you want me to leave town, but I can't see how that would help you. What do you want really?
I just want to know that my family is safe. And that
who exactly is your family?
Well, sometimes they're the ones that we don't always appreciate. But, you know, Ruby the innkeeper.
You're worried.
And, your smuggling business sort of helps her. doesn't help her hold on the available liquor in town.
You're worried about a bit of competition. Well, if you're concerned about that, then I will make sure that she receives a generous donation to compensate for any loss of sales she might experience. Now, if that's all that's your concern, I'll ask that you put down your cleaver and leave my house.
Man, that's tricky. Let's try to. I'm maybe not the best at this, but it's a +0. I want to get an idea of what she's up to. Like, would this be another's thoughts?
Yep, that's read another's thoughts. Spot on.
That's not under question. All right, brain +0. Go. Let's. That is a 7.
7. Okay, so you can ask one question.
Yeah, I guess this is the one. Like, how can I get this character to back off or go legal? Like, how do I get this character to not to appease the Coast Guard? Like, what do I have to do?
Yeah. Look, the chance of her going legal is basically a 0. But you could, what you could do is get her to cooperate with the Coast Guard, or at least like kind of work around the Coast Guard rather than trying to intimidate them. And I think the way you could appeal to her is you've already tried scaring her. I think that now you need to sort of like, you'd have 2 choices. You could back up your threats in some way, because right now it's just like a one-off threat, or you could try and use business sense to convince her. I think those are sort of your two ways you could.
Yeah. I don't really care about law and order in the town and things. So, and I realize I'm hogging spotlight here. So, but my general intent of where we'll go and where we can cut off would be like saying, maybe we can work out a deal, because I don't really, I don't really care for I just want to patch things up between you and the Coast Guard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that we like cut at the end of your scene with her sort of like relifting the teacup up and saying like, deal is one of my favorite words. Let's cut over to Robert and Isla. So Isla has just fallen into the ocean and is becoming consumed with sadness. Robert, how do you react to Isla falling overboard?
Can I quickly add? I think I've also.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I've let go of my my narwhal horn as I fall into the water as well. It's like sinking into the water. Anyway, just a little, which I think maybe I can.
Like that. That's a good detail.
Just when you were saying I can't transform, I think that's part of it as well.
Right, I like that.
Okay, cool. Sorry, go.
The first thought that goes through my mind is, oh my lord, Mr. McKendrick is going to kill me. But attempting to act quickly, I'm going to, this is a fisherman's boat. It should have a fisherman's net. So I'm going to tie it off real quick and grabbing the other end, dive over to try and grab her with this net to pull us back to the boat.
Right. Good.
Is that an act under pressure?
I think that's an act with that would be an act under pressure. Yes, correct.
All right. It's 8 plus 2, 10.
10. Nice. I was going to say, like, there is probably a way that Isla could help, but you don't even need it. So I think you dive down and you sort of like you wrap your arms around Isla. But Isla, you can feel that Robert's got you and he's about to pull you up back onto the boat. But you can't quite reach your horn. What do you do?
Struggle helplessly. reach out towards my horn and not be able to reach it.
Okay, so oh my gosh. Okay, so you get pulled by Robert back onto the boat. And as you're sort of sorry, yep.
I think I'm probably when he pulls me back onto the boat, I think I'm gonna try jump back into I'm trying to get into the water to get my horn.
Okay. Yeah. Are you going to try and stop Isla jumping back into the water?
I'm definitely going to try and stop her from jumping back.
Yeah.
No, Isla. You will be killed.
I think if you're holding me, I'm going to try bite you on the...
Okay. Can you act with force there, Isla? And I think you can choose to hinder if you want to.
Okay.
Robert.
We have one bond. I have a 4.
Okay.
6, 8.
8. Okay, cool. So, Robert, she just slips out of your arms, and before you know it, she's gone back down into the water. Yeah, you sort of I think the bite. Correct me if you disagree, but I think the bite on your arm, it's a lot stronger and it hurts a lot more than the bite of an 11-year-old girl should. And it causes you to let go. And so Isla, you dive back into the water and you're looking around for your horn, and you can see it's sort of gone through the current. Even as everything else was getting pushed away, and you can see it there on the other side of the current, floating in this patch of perfectly calm water. What do you do? Swim.
Towards it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to make you roll for it because I just want to keep the story going at this point. Okay, so you swim your way through the current, probably out of this is the maxed out adrenaline and desperation that Isla gets, and you push your way through into this perfectly calm area and grab your horn. And as you do, you notice that around you in the dark water, there is no fish, there is no seaweed, there's nothing here. It's just perfectly calm and still. And then the singing sort of meets your ears again, and you look up and there's the figure of a woman in light sort of dancing above the water's surface, and you can see that she's singing. And underneath her, looking down underneath her, you can see a body floating face down in the water with strands of red hair sort of wafting in the very gentle currents. How do you react to that?
Well, I think she's probably gonna, now that she's got her horn, I think she'll transform.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess maybe she's like maybe she's swimming up to try like to push the body over towards the boat.
Yeah. So you swim up and sort of like start pushing the body over, and Robert, you can see a Selkie pushing a woman's body towards you through the water.
As she had disappeared down, I've yelled at the other Silky that were around at the edge. She's one of your own, and she's only a child. Save her! And as I see this body coming up, the first thought that kind of goes, this female body being pushed up, I was like, oh no, she's dead. Then I see it's the red hair.
Yeah.
And so I'll push, paddle the boat towards it and reach down to take this body.
Yeah, and so you take the body from where Isla is sort of cradling in it, and you pull it up into the boat. And as you do, when you flip the body over and pull it onto the boat, suddenly the singing stops, and there's dead silence. And you can see, Isla, you can see the figure of the woman in the light above the water sort of like smile and then kind of like disintegrate up into the heavens. And you flip the body over, and Robert,
I recognize her, don't I?
Straight away. Instant recognition.
Elsie! Oh, dear God.
What does she look like other than the red hair? And by the way, this body is like perfectly preserved, like uncannily preserved.
She's, with her red hair, she has very fair skin, and is quite beautiful, and probably I knew her, from all these years, and she looks just as young and beautiful as when I knew her 10, 15 years ago at the wedding. And a beautiful woman.
So I think when you see her, you notice straight away, there's like on the back of her neck, when you were pulling her up from the water, you can see like a handprint, like someone's pushed her head down from above. Yeah, you can see sort of like fingerprints, like in bruises on the back of her neck as well.
Oh my God, Elsie, who did this to you? And it comes to me then that there's this Silky there, and I'm going to... Isla? Is that you, sweetie?
Yeah, I think she's swimming slowly around the boat.
You've done a very good thing, Isla. I think she's at rest. Come back in the boat, dear. Come back to the boat.
I totally swim away.
Oh.
Good. Okay, good. All right, so let's cut over now to Bart. So I think you're going to visit Eileen, and as sort of Mac is like leading you into the house, I think Eileen is still in conversation with Patty. Patty, what does this scene look like when Bart walks in and sees it?
You muted, Charles.
Still on mute there, yeah.
Thank you. Surprisingly cordial. I've got my cleaver very and chain all sort of balled up in my lap. I've sat down, and if it's not too much of a stretch, maybe she poured me some tea.
No, I like that.
Okay, and yeah, I've got my legs crossed, and he's not exactly a businessman per se, but he loves the idea of the bargain here, in that the Coast Guard is just going to have to get a little more corrupt and take the stick out of their ass. So that the deal, I think that I think we might work around would be that basically that they cut in the Coast Guard on the profits, and the town's going to get a little more wet and loose. And I think that's a great thing, because this town was too uppity anyway. And part of the deal is also to sort of take care of any of Aunt Ruby's, like, make sure that, like, she now gets her liquor at a better rate than she did before, so she kind of comes out all right. So it's kind of work out a win-win, unless you care about the law.
I really love the visual image of, like, this really petite old woman, and then this, like, giant hulking man with, like, scars and tattoos, like, sitting down in the lounge room and just, like, having a cup of tea. Yeah, look, like,
I'll tell you who doesn't like that image.
So, but that's what you see when you walk in. How do you react to this?
So I imagine I was walking in and Mac was running his mouth the whole time, talking about one of my people were in here talking with Eileen, and for some reason in the back of my mind, I automatically assumed it was Mr. Robert. I'm like, oh God, what Mr. Robert want to get from Eileen? Why is he in here? And I walk in and I see big old Patty sitting in this dainty chair with a dainty, saucer and a dainty teacup on it, having some tea with Eileen. And I'm just like, Jesus, Mary and Joseph. Patty.
Looks up,
didn't I tell you specifically to stay out of trouble?
Nope.
Well, I did. Before I left this morning, I said stay out of trouble, not have tea with it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, great. I think Eileen gives you like a very big raised eyebrow in here, and says, like, Mr. McKendrick, would you take a seat? Mr. Plum and I were just having a very civil discussion, and I believe you should be involved.
So yeah, I walk around and to take a seat, and the whole time I'm just eyeing Patty. I'm like, I'm just like mumbling under my breath. And I sit down and I turn and I turn and look at Eileen, and I'm like, "What is it?"
And Eileen says, "Well, before we get down to real business, I have a question for you. Now, Mac here let me know that you were taking some things up the coast today. Now, don't worry, I'm not mad about that. I'd just like to know who gave them to you."
I'm not required to tell you that, Eileen.
You're not required to, but I think it would be in all of our best interests.
And whose best interest? What does this have to do with anything? I'm just here to get my boat fixed.
Yes, you are here to get your boat fixed. In fact, I hear you're here for 4 or 5 more days.
Hopefully shorter than that, but yes. Maximum 4 or 5 days.
We've done business before, Mr. McKendrick. Now, what I'm going to propose is a deal that is going to give you and your crews a little extra to sail out with than what you sailed in on. Now, what form you choose to take that extra is up to you. But before I can consider that deal, I'm going to need that information.
I look at Bert a little quizzically, and I give her sort of the stink eye, indicating that I don't like the direction this conversation is taken. So I'm conveying that that my thoughts have changed about her now a little bit.
Yeah, she just.
And then maybe like to convey my intent a little stronger, like a growl. This isn't part of the deal.
Right. You can continue if you want.
I think. Do you want to have? I think you'd need to have another go at intimidating her there.
Okay. Sure. Roll.
You can help if you want, but
no need. 6 and a 4 plus 2, and if I was still scary, I'd imagine that sort of wore off with the tea sipping.
Yeah.
And yeah, so just a 12.
Just a 12.
So, yeah, maybe slap the knife against the chains again, with his intimidating growl.
Yeah. She looks very annoyed. And kind of like gives you a look like like a kid that's like playing up kind of a look. But then she does indeed drop the subject and says, "You're right. This isn't part of the deal. Maybe, Mr. McKendrick, maybe you and I can have a chat about this later." As I was saying, Patty and I were talking about an arrangement that is going to benefit you and yours if it should come to pass. Now, I would like you, Mr. McKendrick, and you, Patty, to represent me, to talk with the Coast Guard, to strike the kind of deal that we were discussing. And in return, I will pay you fairly for your services.
Look, Eileen, we may have done business a long time ago. And that business was good, don't get me wrong. But right now, whatever's going on in this town between you and the Coast Guard needs to be between you and the Coast Guard. Not between you and me. Not between you and Patty. I say kind of grumbling still. But but seriously, I can't help you, Eileen. Why do you need me for anything? I'm just a wash-up old sea dog. How do you react
to? Oh, sorry. Carry on.
I mean, what could I do for you? What do you really want from me? Why can't you just let us go?
Patty, what's your reaction to hearing that?
I'm a little interested in her reaction. I think I give a pleading look over to Bart, you know, and maybe offer up our role here could be to just soften the law a little bit. And if we're taking care of ours and our own, and the only victim is a few useless laws and superstitions, I don't see any part in it. Why can't this be win-win? She's clearly got a thriving business here. The way I see it, she's making us an offer to share the wealth.
Are you rolling? I think that's a manipulate there.
Sure.
Yeah, I think you're trying to manipulate Bart.
I am trying to make my case for Bert. I don't really know like how strict he fell on the law divide.
If I go along with what he says, does he really need to roll?
No, if you agree, then he doesn't need to roll.
No, I agree that, you know, softening the laws of the town are all fine and dandy, but I just want Patty to know that this is his deal, and the consequences of the deal fall on his shoulders solely. It is his job to liaise on this deal with the Coast Guard. I'm washing my hands clean of it, and I'm giving him free reign to do it.
Yeah, well, I got family in the Coast Guard, and so I imagine they'll be able to keep me informed. And glance up at Ellie. No,
Eileen.
Eileen.
Yeah. Cool. So you're okay with Bart backing out?
Me, yeah.
Yeah.
Was that a question to Bart?
No, that was a question to Patty. Was Patty okay with Bart, like, decrying, like, you know, saying, no, I'm not going to get involved in this?
Yeah. Like, I'm taking the full weight of these decisions are on me. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's my family here. I understand those implications, but they are the Coast Guard, and they're going to be the first ones to let me know if she starts screwing them over.
Yep. I think Eileen's reaction to this is like, I don't care who does it. I just want it done, and I'm holding both of you responsible.
Yeah. The only thing I can agree to is to talk to the Coast Guard about it. It might take a little more convincing out of them, so I can't shake on it right now, but I'll do what I can.
Yeah, she's all right with that. Let's cut across to Robert and Isla. What do you guys? So you've rowed back into shore and you've got this woman's body with you. What are you gonna do?
And Isla, you didn't get back in the boat with me?
I think maybe I might have gone back to the ship. But you don't, nobody. I think I'm going to be missing until you guys are back out.
Okay, I would have called your name and said, think of Bart, think of Patty, dear girl, think of me.
Yeah, I'm relaxing back on the ship.
Well, then I'm going to row back to... I'm not a strong man. I'm going to row all the way over to the town with the body, because I'd have a hell of a time dragging it back. That doesn't seem dignified.
Yeah.
But I am very upset, and I am really worried at how Bart is going to hit me about the head and shoulders once he hears about this.
So what are you going to do with this body?
As I come up and it's, I guess, dark, is there anybody on the docks? Is the Coast Guard there?
I think on the docks itself, yeah, there's definitely like probably one Coast Guard member, and then there's one sort of fisherman, like, I guess, just hanging about still.
Ahoy there! Ahoy, good sirs! I'll come up. I believe that I have found our missing lady. Unfortunately, she is no more.
Yeah, they run up to you, and it's like you can see when he gets closer, the Coast Guard member is Will, who you came into the town with, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, God, it's truly her. It's the provost's wife."
Tristan? Tristan is the provost of this town?
Yes, that's the one.
Oh, he's going to be devastated.
And as you're sort of like walking up, like dragging it back to, I assume you're taking it into town for the constable.
Yeah, if he's still here in town, I'll have them, careful there. She's a lady, as we put her on probably like a plank or something and carry her back. I don't have a coat anymore, so I'll probably say, you, sir, cover her face, for God's sake.
Yeah. And I think we'll ask you, like, well, where did you find her? Like, do you think she jumped into the sea and killed herself?
I fear foul play. But that's for the constable to decide, I suppose.
Right. I think as you say that, a strange look sort of like crosses over Will's eyes, like for a moment, a shadow of a glance, and then it's gone. But we're running up to the end of this session, so
yeah.
Gosh, I could go another one, but anyway. So, is there anything anyone wanted to do before this session ends?
I suppose I do tell Bart that Mr. McKendrick, I have unfortunate news, and I'll take you to the side and I'll tell you about seeing Isla turn into this creature, and that she swam away. and you can see, I mean, I'm really distraught. He's very upset.
And I could imagine Bart's reaction to that would be like, you trying to tell me this news like in a distraught way like gets me distraught at first, but then when you tell me that she just swam away, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I kind of start laughing. And it's not
Kendrick.
It's not sad, Robert. It's beautiful. She's fine. She's fine. Don't worry, she's fine. We'll see her.
I think I need a drink.
I second that. I'm also sad and confused. I miss her already. A little thing that I was sort of interested in. We can roll for it, a hand wave or something. I think I wanted to at least get back to the representatives of the Coast Guard, Will, Patrick, and Ronnie. Maybe a little round of drinks with them, or actually maybe another meal, so I get them nice and plied up with some good food, and offer this proposal, sort of under the selling it as, you know, look, you guys are you're fighting the losing side of a war here, and I did my best to see if she'd just leave, but surprise, surprise, she's not, and I'm not going to murder a little. If you want to murder the little old lady, that's on you. Otherwise, I suggest accept the terms of her agreement. So let's just be real about it.
Yeah, cool. That probably sounds like a manipulate, right?
Like a what?
Manipulate.
Sure, I'll roll it. I am not beautiful at all, so this might just go horribly awry, and that would be just fine. Let's go. A 4 and a 2, already a 6, -1, make it a 5 for extra bad.
Oh, good. Yeah. So, like, just for the sake of running this off cinematically, I think, like, when they hear your proposal, like, they look really angry, and sort of like Ronnie spits at your feet, and he's like, "Make a deal with that devil. Not on my name. Never would I do that." And they get up and they walk out.
Yeah, that would be interesting for next episode for sure.
Back in the doghouse with the family.
The way I would interpret that, my sort of epilogue thoughts are, you know what? If this town can't see that, you know, being rigid and stubborn to match up with your family ideal is not working, is not in their best interest, then, you know, fuck them. That was how his original attitude about the family anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Sort of comes full circle. I like it. I'm satisfied with it. So.
Good.
Yeah, I think my little epilogue is just being like right up on the mast again. Like, while, like, I guess a few days later when the ship's repaired, and I'm like waving like to these guys as they're coming back.
Oh, you're back! And then we could have such a joyous moment because, like, we thought that you were dead, and you come back.
Run up and hug you.
Yeah, I mean, if this was like
the next session or so, just to give the sense that you might be dead.
And what I found interesting about this was playing the salty dog. It's funny because, like, his +2 stat is beyond. And in, like, an extended game of this, I would imagine it would have got weirder, especially if, like, you bring a salty dog around a body from the sea. I'm sure that's how it was designed.
Yes, definitely.
Because it's kind of like that thing Speak move in Apocalypse World, the salty dogs move. It's very similar. So it's funny the way I play these characters is all business-like in this game, but, like, you know, it's written up to be weird.
Yeah, it, like, depends which path, like, your character wants to follow, and you know, you've got to be true to that. But I think when you have more time, like, you know, as the GM or MC or whatever you want to call it, like, I'm thinking, hey, how can I suck your character into all this weirdness? Because I know it'd be so great because your character doesn't want to get involved, but then there's, like, a big side of him that's really in tune with that side of the world. So I think that would be fun.
Yeah, this game was brilliant. This was a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm really glad you guys enjoyed it. It was really fun to run. You guys had such great characters. It was like
it's
really
nice.
Great.
I've been being, like, you know, wizards and archers and shit all. No, it was really fun to be a 11-year-old girl that could turn into a seal.
And you
and everyone.
That was such a wonderful little character.
Right.
Yeah,
it was
great.
It was nice
totally
how everyone. Sorry, you go.
I missed that the art on the front on the page of the thing is a Skelky there is a Selkie.
Yeah, cool. It is. Yeah, the front cover of the book is
same pretty in theme. Yeah.
Yeah, it is very in theme.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Thanks all of you for picking this game and playing.
Oh, thank you for running it. It's always a pleasure to be able to play a game with the mind behind the game, and I think that's enjoying. Yeah, that's enjoying the game in its purest form, and I appreciate you giving us this opportunity.
Oh, my pleasure. Cool. All right. Yeah. So enjoy the rest of your con. Have you guys still got games